The arm of Rosedale is located to the north and west of Neepawa, stretching west to Franklin and north to Kelwood. The total land area is 865 square kilometers, divided into 6 wards, each with its own member of council. This month, the arm of Rosedale is welcoming new CAO, Melissa McDonald. She has joined the team as of July 17th and is currently learning the ropes of the municipality. In large part, the July meeting centered around routine business, including road repairs, donation requests, and committee reports. One issue that arose was a request for a policy review around the sale of public land. A purchaser would like to purchase a municipality-owned piece of land adjacent to his own in order to consolidate the properties to install a new septic field. There is a mechanism for council to set an asking price for that land rather than putting it up for public auction, which they will be looking into. Another issue was increasing signage for attractions within the municipality. There are sites such as Kerrs Lake and Big Valley that are tourism draws, but can be difficult to locate without highway signage or increased promotion by the municipality. There were also 2 delegations to council. One was early on in the meeting and came from Manitoba Pork to talk to council about the Wild Pig Awareness Campaign, which hopes to control the invasive species. They offered abundant information on what to look out for and what to do if you spot a wild pig. The other delegation took place near the end of the meeting, where Darren Pajak, the owner of the dogs which broke into the bird sanctuary and killed several of the birds earlier this July, addressed council about the incident and the subsequent steps that were taken. Following is the Rural Municipality of Rosedale's July meeting in its entirety.
This regular council meeting convenes at 10 a.m. with Reed Carlson as its chair. Could I have a mover? Sure. Seconder. All in favor? Carried. Be it resolved that the regular council meeting agenda of the July 14, 2023 be approved as presented. Do I have a mover? Ernie. Seconder. So, all in favor? Carried. That the minutes of the regular meeting held June 9th, 2023, and the special meeting held June 28th, and July 10th, 2023, be adopted into the curriculum. I have a mover. Ron. Seconder. Aaron. All in favor? Carried. Okay, the council approved the accounts for the month and the amounts as followed. June 2023, general $173,221.92. Water $998. Do I have a movement? Second.
Can I ask a question before we?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. The tax service for $3,291, is that just getting ready for the tax sale, or what is that? And so that there is going to be one?
Anybody else? Sorry, I should have some. All in favor? Carried. resolution that council agrees to adopt the June 2023 financial statement. I guess I'll ask now, is there any questions on this statement? No? Or do you have a mover then? Or I'll just go. Seconder?
Sure.
All in favor? Okay, next, we have a resolution, be it resolved that council, Melissa McDonald be appointed as Chief Administration Officer for the RM of Rosedale effective June 17th, 2023. Oh, July, sorry, I read it wrong. I was looking at something else, sorry. July 17th, 2023.
Did we, that's what we need to go in camera and discuss what was offered? Sort of back and forth, or is that something we don't need to do? Could we back and forth, and I don't know where we're at here.
I don't need to go in camera for that. Right.
I'll make a motion to go in camera and discuss
Yeah.
employee matters.
Okay. Need a resolution.
I don't. Back and forth.
You tell me.
Okay, resolution council of the rural municipality of Rosedale, Reek. In accordance with section 152, brackets 3 of the Municipal Act, Council of Rural Municipality of Rosedale do now move in camera to discuss legal and personal matters. The time beginning 10.
Seven?
And further be it resolved that in accordance with the section 8.3 bracket 1 bracket B of the Municipal Act, any issues that are discussed are kept confidential until discussed at a regular meeting of council. Do I have a mover? Herbert. Second.
I'll second.
Dave Tudor. All in favor? Carried. Okay, resolution, be it resolved that council, Melissa McDonald be adopted to as Chief Administration Officer for the rural municipality of Rosedale effective July 17, 2023. Do I have a mover? Second. All in favor? Carried.
Here's that water.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. I'm glad that you guys all moved it and accepted it.
You're a little nervous, weren't you?
Otherwise, I'd be like, oh,
that we, the council, agree to amend section B of the bylaw 8-2022 to assign Councillor Jeff Henderson to the White Mud Watershed Board number 43. Do I have a mover? Seconder, Councillor Shook. All in favor? Carried.
Well, you are there, dude.
I am slightly not in favor of the other board, the Westlake complaint. I'm not sure that there's any value. I've gone to a few meetings now, and so I'm gonna keep going for a while, but I'm not so sure that it's
worthwhile.
yeah, like, I don't see that there's such a closely run organization by the provincial government that there's not really any input, and it's not really any information sharing. It's just like, this is the way it is, and there's nothing you can say or do. Just sit there. But I'll give it a fair try, but I think perhaps that should be like a one and done, and not be on the board anymore. Or an official rep, I should say.
Okay. Next resolution, vacation for Kelsey and Michael Smith. Kelsey Rose and Michael Smith. Is there any questions on this? Did you want to talk about anything or just read the resolution? Oh, sorry, Robert. Kelsey Rose wants July 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st. And Michael Smith would like the 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, they're staggered weeks for.
Okay, we, the council, agree to authorize the annual vacation leave of the following employees. 2023, Kelsey Robinson, July the 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, and 21st. Michael Smith, July the 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, and 28th. All of it, Dave Turner. Seconder, Robert Scott. All in favor? Carried. Just for your information, our delegation is here. Oh, okay. Thank you. Oh, it's scheduled on 10:15? 10:30? Okay. Okay, Eden. Utility. Motion here that whereas the Eden water utility currently audit PSAB and PUB adjust operation effectives of deficits of $118,078 in 2017, $28,304 in 2019, and $32,146 in 2022. And whereas the Eden Water Utility had a 2022 audit board cap surplus of $135,589, which exceeded the Public Utilities Board's maximum appropriation of $41,362. Therefore, be it resolved that the municipality of Rosedale requests that the Public Utilities Board approve the Eden Water Utility operating deficits of $118,078 in 2017, $28,304 in 2019, and $32,146 in 2022, with said deficits to be recovered from the Eden Utilities accumulated fund surplus.
So accumulated.
Accumulated fund surplus. Thank you. Wow.
Can I ask some questions?
Sure.
I don't understand that enough to talk about it. Can you explain it to me?
No, this is something that paperwork thing, but this is way to go consulting. Said we hadn't filed some this yet, and it should be done. So there's one for Eden and there's one for Calwood. It's some, to do with, so we could take from one pot and give it to the other, but we are supposed to file these things. So we're just kind of playing catch up with making sure that it's done.
And is it like a systemic problem that needs to be fixed, or is it an accounting thing that's just there's seasonal highs and lows and there's enough surpluses to match the occasional deficits?
I think right now it's not like a problem, like it's, but some years we have more breakdowns than others, so.
But going forward, like we've got enough cushion in the reserves that it's not a concern?
Yeah, but something we have to keep a watch on, because we may have to raise our rates and that kind of stuff. So.
I think some of the problem was bills left from construction, an extension of the water line things, wasn't it? We're getting back to 17.
Could be, I
believe that's where.
just way to go
I think
set
there's
with
enough
this.
there to make it fly on its own, or pretty close. But, yeah, I don't fully understand some of this, how some of this accounting is done.
Right.
I feel the same as you, like sometimes
It's
it's
almost like,
not very crystal clear.
no, sure doesn't seem like it.
As long as everybody's getting paid and.
Water keeps flowing.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
We need clarification, maybe we have Dale from Way to Go to present it better to us. Is that an option if we have questions, or?
Because that's.
Or is it really necessary?
Yeah.
It's,
Our
Well,
new
he can
chief
come and-
administration officer should straighten this all out.
I think he knows.
Good answer, Carl.
Come and explain it, but it still has to be.
Oh, yes.
done.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
still have to
This still has
file
to be done,
this
yeah.
with the PUB, but he
So
can.
this is just something that got missed in previous years, that's why it's going back to the 2017. Okay.
Yeah,
7
we're-
years.
That's, that's a surprising thing.
It didn't get done last year, so they noticed that, so they're just trying to
Just cleaning it up.
clean it up, and yes, I can get a, further, I have something.
I don't, I know this is unusual, but I don't have as good an explanation as you just had for yours. Maybe mine is perfect.
It just says we ran deficit, and they weren't approved yet, so we have to put in applications for it. To the public facilities board.
Which will also help if there's, say, a hearing to the public utilities board about the cost of installations and such. We can show that we're running deficits.
Yeah, to keep it going, keep it going.
Can I ask
Or-
a question?
Oh, sorry.
What's the significance of the 41,362, the allowable limit? Are you only allowed to have that deficit or that overage? We'll have to look at that.
We
Okay.
received the Public Utilities Board minimum requirement of 41,362.
maybe it's something we can dig into with clarification going forward, just pass the motion.
Yeah, move forward.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is the background to that.
Something else that we don't have a choice.
But this is just more about giving someone permission to move money from one account to another.
Oh, okay, so so it must be a percentage of your total, like, so they mandate you have a percentage as a surplus, just to cushion you from the surplus.
So I thought that was allowed deficit.
No, that's, yeah, yes, mandatory surplus.
Okay.
And so you must have a nest egg.
We used to
Yeah.
have that for small things, when it was just the village. Now it includes the rural water line. And after we did the expansion, so,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, we have like reserves, but you have to, they're separate, so you have to get permission to move your money from.
One, yeah, to the other.
I think it's all in the up and up, it's just that it's not very clear.
So do I have a mover on this? Can we move forward?
Yeah,
That's
sorry.
okay. As long as we're-
Yes, okay, that's right, yeah.
Harold Burton. All in favor? The delegations, eh?
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, I think that's true.
Well, that's true.
Thanks for doing that.
That's all right.
Perfect score, I don't know.
Or you want to do the Calvin one before we? Okay.
Yeah.
Little time after, sure.
Okay.
Recommending special debate, or just like.
Just invite them
So Grant has some handouts for everyone to pass them on, please. So thank you for taking the time. We do appreciate it. I'm Cam Dahl. I'm the general manager of Manitoba Port. And we know that, you know, there are lots of organizations and groups that will reach out to federal politicians or the provincial governments, but not many people come and want, or industry or groups come and want to proactively talk to you, and that's a mistake. And so we've been reaching out to municipalities across the province to, you know, really start a dialogue about the port sector, and to talk about, you know, concerns you have and common areas of interest. So that's really why we're here today, is to start a dialogue. And I'm joined by Grant.
Hi there, Grant Melanchuk. I'm Director of Sustainable Development Research with Manitoba Port.
And we'll walk through, we have a little bit of a deck. We'll walk through first to talk a little bit, Grant will talk about the impact of the industry, and then we want to talk about well pays. And I notice you have some brochures up there, and that really makes me happy.
Okay, well thanks Cam. And it's a slideshow, but by all means, if you have any questions as I'm going through, feel free to just cut me off, and we'll have a bit of a conversation.
I interrupt Grant all the time.
See. But yeah, just a little bit of background about Manitoba Port. We represent all commercial hog farms in the province. There's a little over just about 610, 612, including a couple here in Rosedale, I believe. We're guided by a board of directors of producers, as well as a series of district advisors who are also producers from every type of farming or organization and operation across the province. We're funded by a levy on the sale of exported weanlings, as well as a levy on the sale of market hogs at a plant either here in Neepawa or the Maple Leaf plant in Brandon. And yeah, we deliver programming for our producers, and our goal is to work with stakeholders such as yourselves. A little bit about the economic contribution of Manitoba's hog sector. We just recently had a economic impact analysis completed. It was actually last week, so these numbers are fresh. We have not issued a news release or anything like that.
You actually received them before a board, so don't tell anyone.
But yeah, in total, the amount of employment that the production and processing contributes in the province, it's over 22,000 full-time jobs, so it's substantial. Over half of all agricultural and food manufacturing jobs in the province are related to the pork sector. Each year, the sector contributes about $2.3 billion to the provincial GDP, $139 million in provincial tax revenue, and $87 million in municipal tax revenue. In terms of cash receipts, we're third behind canola and wheat. In terms of recent growth and opportunities for growth, the decade between, say, 2005 to 2015, give or take, there was no growth. There was effectively a moratorium in place that made expansion essentially impossible. Even renovations were difficult at the time. But since 2017, there have been about 40 or so new barns or barn expansions approved across the province. That in itself is about another 150 jobs, over 200 million private investment. And much of this has occurred in western Manitoba, so the area, say, west of Portage and south of Rocky Mountain.
And just sorry, I did say I was going to interrupt you, so. This isn't to pick on grain farmers, but if, a section of land changes hands, that's a lot of money, but it hasn't changed primary agriculture production. Whereas this $200 million in private investment is actually increasing primary agriculture production in Manitoba, and with all the value added that comes with that. So, again, a section of land changes hand, that's not more jobs, that's not more production, but that $200 million is more jobs and more production.
Yeah, and a good example would be the Top Pigs Norseman nucleus farm just down the road in Plymouth. So some of our key priority areas, sustainability and environmental stewardship is top of mind, obviously. Producers today, they grow more food with less of an environmental impact than our producers of decades gone by. We use less water, require less land, we emit fewer greenhouse gas emissions. This is a trend we like to see continue, so we invest a lot of money in research to look for continued ways to reduce our environmental footprint. Manure management is key as well. Frankly, I think Manitoba has the strictest manure management regulations of all jurisdictions in North America. All large-scale livestock operations, so basically all our farms, are required to prepare an annual manure management plan. So this involves basically retaining an agrologist, planning out what crops are going to be grown on what fields, and manure is applied at a rate dependent on the crop that's going to be grown. Those plans are submitted to the province, and they're subject to audit on an annual basis. And currently, over 90% of the manure produced at hog farms is either incorporated into the soil or direct injected into the soil, which is the highest rate in the country by quite a long shot. Animal care is a key priority as well. Our pigs, they receive nutritious feed, safe indoor living conditions, and first-rate veterinary care. And from a producer's perspective, a strong herd, it means a strong, healthy and prosperous farm. Our farmers, in order to market their animals at either Neepawa or Brandon or any federally inspected plant across the country, they have to follow a code of practice. There's about 100 things within this code of practice that they must do, and those are also subject to audit as well. And it's ever evolving to continually ensure that those high standards of animal care are met. Biosecurity. Biosecurity is an important one as well, and this kind of segues into the second half of our presentation here. But all commercial hog farms, they follow strict biosecurity protocols, and this is to help prevent the spread of production diseases. So PED you might have heard of. It's something that occurs in Manitoba every now and then. Worst case scenario is the introduction of a foreign animal disease such as ASF, African swine fever, and Cam will get into that a little later on, but it's essential at all hogger operations, whether they're large commercial operations or small scale outdoor operations, essential that they follow strong biosecurity protocols to help prevent disease spread.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I have to make sure, when I go to Glenella, there's a bunch of old buildings. There's like an auto record yard or something about halfway to Glenella. Do you guys know the place I'm talking about? Okay, so I'm assuming there's feral hogs or free range hogs coming off of that place, because I had to stop for about what felt like 120 piglets and 2 sows across in front of me. So they don't fall under your purview, I'm assuming, but that's a small scale farm yard operation. So is that kind of stuff something that you want to deal with, or something that you care about?
Yes, we care deeply about that.
Okay.
Just because of the threat of spreading disease. And I'll give you an example. Europe is being hit with African swine fever, and Germany used to be, and that's the key word, used to be, the number one pork producer in Europe. They're not anymore, in a large part due to African swine fever. And it came in from the wild pigs, wild boar, which are native to the region. But the first time it came into the domestic herd in Germany was someone that had 4 pigs, and the second one was someone that had 6 pigs, and that has just devastated the German pork industry.
Multi-billion
Multi-billion-dollar industry. So operations like that, they shouldn't be operating like that. But they don't produce a whole lot of pigs, but the risk that they represent is hugely disproportionate to the number of pigs. So yes, we care.
So I'm assuming, I'm assuming those pigs in that farm yard area are connected, or is it coincidence, or should I stop talking?
Connected.
Yes.
And then just, I mentioned research a little bit earlier, and every year our organization contributes hundreds of thousands of dollars towards research to kind of look for best management practices and keep raising that bar, whether it's environmental sustainability or animal care or feed efficiency, whatever the case may be. We're just always looking to raise that bar. And with that, I will hand it over to Ken.
Or we'll pause. Do you have any questions, and we'll get into the wild pigs, because that's kind of half why we're here too. With the threat of getting into the park and all that kind of good stuff is not good. But any questions before we get into wild pigs?
I was just curious because I was going down highway and there was some boars, I bet you they're that tall, black. And I was like,
I want to know where those are. We want to get rid of them.
That's in a different municipality.
yeah, I think it's not, I don't think it's in our municipality, but.
You can still report.
No, it's not, no, it's just out of ours.
Yeah, we'll get into how you report those too, because what we'll do is we'll come in and we'll set up some trail cams or something like that, and if we find them, we'll set up traps.
Well, I was driving down the road and I was hoping he wasn't coming out because I was gonna hurt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is there an eradication program that's being set up in Manitoba for wild boar?
Sorry.
Is
Great.
there any sort of eradication?
Yeah, we'll get into it.
Great question.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the second half of our chat. So to start off, what's a wild pig? Is it just a Eurasian wild boar, or is it some of those escaped domestic pigs? And we classify anything. It's sort of like what's a weed. Weed is a plant growing where it shouldn't. And so a wild pig for us is anything outside of the fence. And it shouldn't be there, no matter what it is. And really this problem, and so where does it come from? Like why do we have wild pigs? In the late 1980s, mid 1990s, agriculture was in really rough shape, and the buzzword of the day was diversification. We're going to grow something else. So that's why we have elk farms and why we tried ostrich farms and why we tried boar farms. And there was a couple of thoughts at the time one was we have really good fences. We can keep them inside a fenced area. And those that thought that didn't understand wild boar because the fences really don't stop them. And the second thought was that even if they do escape, they'll never survive a prairie winter. They kind of thrive in prairie winter. And there's part of me that really admires these animals because they're adaptive and they're really smart. So they build igloos. So they'll collect things like bulrushes and grasses and build living spaces under the snow, inside snowdrifts, or especially in marshland. And they're comfortable in there. There's a couple of weeks ago we trapped some young pigs, and just given their age, there's about 6 or 7 of them. Given their age, they had to be born in the middle of January, and they were doing just fine. And so they're a tough, adaptable animal. And we'll get into some of the growth curves that were coming up. We still have time to get rid of them, but we don't have a lot of time before that population explodes. And why hasn't it been dealt with? We refer to this as a kind of a bit of a one health problem. It's at that intersection of potential human health issues, environmental health issues. These things do a lot of environmental damage, and animal health issues. And so you have different government departments going, yeah, it's kind of my issue, but I'm not the lead. Someone else should be taking the lead. So we need to bring together sort of all of those interests under one umbrella to help wipe them out. And that is the School on Pigs Manitoba campus. That's really why we set it up and what we designed to do. So we talked a little bit about why we should care about these. They're an introduced species, they're an invasive species. They have no natural predators. Just to your point, if I was in the bush and had a choice between a bear following me or a group of wild pigs following me, I'd choose the bear any day of the week. They're potentially real issue for safety. They reproduce rapidly, so they become sexually mature about 8 months. 2 litters a year, 6 to 10 pigs per litter. Doesn't take a mathematical genius to know that population can explode very quickly. And that's where we're at. But I'll show you some pictures in the next couple of slides, but they make a mess of environment, especially riparian areas around creeks and rivers and marshland. They prey on things like birds and other small animals. They're a risk to people. And why we really care about them is they're a potential reservoir for disease. So if African swine fever were to get into the wild herd, it would take us a long time to recover our export markets because of that. Or even production diseases like PED. If the wild animals become a reservoir, it gets to be almost impossible to wipe out diseases. So the next page is just they like corn. They like corn and potatoes a lot. So that's what one pig would do to a cornfield. The next group of pictures shows, and this is just a little bit east of Brandon. It's like a cultivator goes through, and that's probably 1 or 2 pigs that damage to pasture. That's not 20 or 30, that's 1 or 2 in an afternoon. They do an enormous amount of damage. And again, potatoes are natural. There's lots of energy. Potatoes are good food, and it fits with their natural rooting habitat. And the next, this is what again, these are pictures we've downloaded from the internet. These are pictures that we've taken in throughout our monitoring and eradication campaign. That's kind of what they can do to street reds and riparian areas. And again, they're definitely a risk to people. If I was that person driving that van, I would have the door open. I wouldn't be out walking with wild pigs. Why are we here now? Why do we care? It's because, this shows a geometric growth curve, and we're at the end of that plateau, that bottom plateau, and we're just starting up the very rapid upswing in population. So we have some time to stop that, if we can find it, and if we can wipe them out. And Manitoba Pork started about 5 years ago with essentially some work off the side of our desks, and someone that would go out and do some traffic in the evenings and things like that. And we've now, and with both support from the province and the federal government, we have a substantive campaign. So we have 3 field technicians that are out there doing trapping, as well as an overall national coordinator and someone to manage the trapping and eradication program. So we have trail cams in place, we have traps, we have a drone that goes out and that we use to find them, and when we find them, we do set up those traps. Winter is a better trapping season because they have less food. So just to look at what happens if we get something like African swine fever, excuse me. Our border is closed immediately, and 90% of what the pork that Manitoba produces is export, either on foot to the U.S. So we produce about 8 million pigs a year, and 3 million of those go on foot into the United States, and the other 5 million are processed again mostly here.
So I mentioned earlier, 22,000 people employed in the sector. The border's closed. That's devastating to the provincial economy.
And Grant and I were commenting on our ride here is we didn't encounter any transporters going to this plant, either coming or going. And that's just after a 14-day strike in Vancouver. That it wouldn't take very long to shut everything down. It would be a recession-causing event, especially in this province. And it would take years to recover again, and we'll look at examples like Germany and Poland that even after a couple of years still haven't recovered their export markets. So we need to keep it out. That's the first plan, but we also need to have a plan to recover. And a key part of that plan is to ensure that it doesn't get into a wild population, because then you can't get rid of it. The Japanese government was just here last winter. We're working on developing agreements that would, rapidly open that market. If that disease occurs in Manitoba, it's going to be really difficult. But if it shows up in Quebec, for example, our border is still closed. And so we're working on getting agreements with governments like Japan. And one of the block of questions that they have is what are you doing to get rid of your wild animals, and what are you doing to ensure that it doesn't get into that population? And just to let you know, and I know this because I just added it up because of the strike. We export, Manitoba exports about $1.4, $1.5 billion worth of pork every year. And about $730 million of that goes out of the West Coast, which is why that strike is having such an impact on this province. So that gets us to the Squeal on Pigs campaign, and that really has a couple of objectives. We'll touch on three. One is to just get the information out to the public about why we should care. And you know, you think about, wow, it's some wild pigs, why should I care? And so that communication, public outreach is one aspect of the campaign. And another goal is to actually get a much better handle on where they are and where they are in the province. And then, of course, the third and ultimate goal is to eradicate. As I said, I think we still have time to do that. So, you know, that outreach is you know, we're going and meeting one-on-one with producers. We're meeting with municipalities, and we'll talk a little bit about maybe how we can partner with them. Making use of the media, as well as you know, reaching out personally to landowners where we do know that there are pigs and they have been spotted. So the next slide is to your question: is how do we report it? And you can actually do that on your phone. And so one of our asks for you is can you publicize that website and that phone number on your website? So, you know, if you spot them, this is where you report them. You know, as I said, we'll send out. That's what our field technicians are for. They'll come out and investigate it. They'll set up some cameras. And if we find them there, we'll come and we'll set up some traps to get rid of them. And just to give you an idea, this is just a start. We had 127 sightings last year. We removed 122 pigs. We're contacting 20 to 30 landowners a month. Just back to that sightings, that's not nearly enough. You don't find these things unless you look for them, and so you know, our goal is to really increase that number, not because I want more pigs, but because I'm pretty sure there are more pigs out there, and we need to find them. We've got about 20 traps in operation every month, and that number is going to be going up significantly. I hope by the end of the next winter, that will be pretty close to double. We're you know, looking at ramping up some of the other surveillance techniques. You know, drones for example. And I realized that with that thermal camera on the drone, it's impossible to hide anywhere anymore. Literally can see turkeys sitting in trees. The animal trails that you know, are 5 or 6 days old, they show up on the camera because the snow is in the tracks. There's a different temperature. Yeah, you can't hide anywhere anymore. As well as experimenting with sniffer dogs that are explicitly trained to find wild boars. And the last one also goes into you can't hide anymore, is testing marshland and small waterways for wild boar DNA, which you know, might not necessarily identify where pigs are today, but it definitely will help us exclude areas if it doesn't show up. The lab we're working with said if you filled a bathtub full of water and dipped your hand in it, and they came back a month later and took a sample, they would find your DNA in that sample. So again, it's a way of, okay, we've got pigs here, or even better to say, we know that they're not here, so that we can look as well. This is the map of where we found them last year, where they were reported, you know, around the park just west of Brandon is where most of them are. For a couple of reasons, that's where a couple of farms were, and you know, pigs were escaped. To be blunt about it, they were also released when prices fell and there was producers that just open up the fences and let them go. And it's perfect habitat for them. That sort of sandy lands, they've got lots of water, they've got lots of shelter, they've got lots of food.
Potato crops nearby.
A lot of potato crops nearby. It's perfect for them. But we're also seeing them throughout the province, even further up around the lakes. I suspect that in the Swan Valley area, there's more than what we're seeing, and we've actually hired another technician to work in that area. Again, I suspect that because there were some farms in Saskatchewan that went through that same problem in the east. So just that's a summary, and they're evasive. They cause environmental problems. They have potential to cause real significant problems to the pork sector. And really, any way that we can work with you to help, especially with that publicization, that increasing the public awareness. I think Grant has a couple of brochures, but as I said, I really was happy to see some of them out on the counter already, so thank you. The further complication here is the park. And many of you probably remember the losses that were caused by TB and elk in the park, and how long that was 20 plus years to get rid of. I don't want to go through that again with wildlife. So we're also working closely with park. The guys in the park are helping. So that's our summary, and we're happy to take any questions or comments about either some of that economic and jobs impact or any concerns that you're having with the industry. Like this is a pretty important part of Manitoba to the pork sector. Questions, comments? I'm more than welcome.
I'm good.
That's your mind.
I will say you should comment, it's not in the slides, but a common response, well, let's just hunt them. They actually taste pretty good, I shouldn't say that. They're awful. Don't. Manitoba now has it's just a complete open season. As long as you're not hunting them at night, you can shoot a wild boar or whatever you want. We're actually trying to get that policy changed and to have a ban on hunting. And it gets back to these are really smart animals. So if you have a sounder or a group of females, which is kind of how they travel about, of say 10 to 15 females, and one or two of them are taken out by a hunter, that sounder will split up. And if there's additional hunting pressure on them, they'll flip to being nocturnal animals. So you had a single sounder that you could find and trap and remove, and all of a sudden you've got 4 or 5 groups of pigs that are now operating at night, and so they become almost impossible to find. So hunting makes the problem worse, which is counterintuitive.
Yeah, I brought brochures. I know you have some up there, but we'll leave more so you can put them out. There's some stickers as well that you can leave for residents, or you could put on your municipal vehicles if you want.
Just say it.
Yeah, just say it. Or I will. But no, I appreciate the opportunity to meet with you folks today.
Yeah. And I forgot business cards. Did you remember business cards?
I have business cards.
The other part of it is, as I said, we really do want to start a dialogue. If there's areas that we can work together, we talk to the province a lot. If there's things that we can work together on, concerns that you have, the door is open. So, the other, Grant mentioned the potential for expansion. We know that ultimately you are the ones that make those decisions. So if you have questions before there's a application coming to you in front of this table, you know, we'd be happy to answer those questions, whether it's on water or what the process is. Grant was in municipal affairs in the council, in the province for
15 or so years.
a long time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'd be happy to have that. That's really why we're here.
So, I've always been slightly cynical about like industry boards and industry, like, because it's a significant chunk of this public relations, right? So my one question, like, I'm a huge advocate for regulations for water quality here.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I will, like, I'm not prepared today, but that's one of the things that I have a serious concern with, is water quality, drainage, the aquifer, all that kind of stuff. Like, we pump a lot of chemicals, we put a lot of manure, and we also have a lot of, when industry checks itself, like you look at what Louisiana Pacific does in the Duck Mountains, like, it's industry in charge of itself tends to make its own rules. So that's, I'll come up with something coherent, but I just say, like, I really hope that it's as effective as you say it is here.
That's a fair comment, and you know, when it comes to the regulatory environment, especially around water and manure, they're not our regulations. They really are the province of Manitoba's regulations, and that's where the things like the manure management plans are important to prevent accumulation and loading of, you know, phosphorus, for example. That's that it doesn't occur. That if you're, you know, if you're putting canola down after using manure, that plan will say this is how much you can put in place, and so that's how it's designed to work. Does it work perfectly all the time? No. So if you see places where it isn't, if you look at it and go, you know, those guys were here a month ago and look, you know, here it's running into a ditch, this is BS. Let us know.
Yeah.
Because that's not supposed to happen.
No, and it's, I mentioned earlier that Manitoba's regulatory framework is strict compared to our neighbors, and a simple example is winter application of fertilizer is banned here in the province between where the dates are. Exactly, as it should be, because it just effectively runs off. That's not the case in Saskatchewan nor Ontario, or in the States, any of the states. You can apply in the winter. And to that, like, these regs have been around for 15 years or so in the province now, in Manitoba, and to our producers, it's just common sense. But as Cam said, if you ever see someone who's potentially skirting the rules, let us know. Like, we do have influence over our producers for sure.
Well, we're not an enforcement agency, you know, we can also pick up the phone with the province and say, here, you know, because it's not in the industry's
It's in our best interest, that's for sure.
Industry's best interest to have stuff like that. So, yeah, we will. If it's happening, let us know. We're trying to stop it. And you're also right about the, you know, the need to ensure that our, not just surface water is protected, but if there's growth and expansion, that our aquifers, drinking water, our groundwater is protected as well. I know we're probably at a time when we've got other things to do, but essentially a lagoon for a hog barn is regulated to the same level as a lagoon for the town of Newport. So not to say they never leave, but they're not supposed to.
Great. Well, thanks again for your time.
Thanks, guys.
Again, really appreciate your time. And yeah, I apologize for getting my cards, but Grant will give you his. And if you have any follow-up or any questions, don't hesitate. Or again, you see something comes up. If you you know, this place that has pigs running around outside of a fence, let us know, because we'll have a chat with conservation, for example. They're not supposed to be there. You can raise outdoor pigs, there's nothing wrong with that, but the regulations are in place that you're supposed to have a fence to keep them like, so if they're running around. So, thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Put it upside down.
Should we do some Kelvin down?
6696.
Yeah, if you want to finish
This is-
Okay.
That's the same number.
Yeah, same right there.
Okay,
That's why I
try
figured this should be, these two total, that,
That on mine.
correct. So I just, yeah, see just something. So this should only be paid once. Well, that's a good,
Shouldn't be a snap.
no, no, that's right, that's bad. No,
We just wrote that out.
I would, yeah, I think it's the same. All one.
Yeah, nothing for to be entered on there is just a show us.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll pass these resolutions then. Our next resolution, whereas Kelwood Water Utility inquired and audited PSAB and PUB adjust operating deficit of $14,943 in 2022. And whereas the Kelwood Utility Board had a 22 audit working capital surplus of $215,904, which exceeds the Public Utilities Board maximum requirement of $15,429. Therefore, be it resolved that the Municipality of Rosedale requests the Public Utilities Board to approve the Kelwood Water Utility operating deficit of $14,943 in 2022, with said deficit to be recovered through the Kelwood Utilities accumulated fund surplus. Can I have a mover? Second. All in favor? Sure.
Can you transfer Kelwood to, if there's too much of a reserve?
Easy now. Easy now.
Water there.
Easy, you and this guy are ganging up on me.
I think the answer is no.
Good ask though, good ask. Yeah. We'll keep, as it gets older, it's harder to keep up. You guys got a new system of work, trying to make you all work. No?
All right.
School blue. Yeah.
Next piece of business. Whereas there are rural municipality of Rosedale has until November 15, 2023 to file claims under the 2022 Spring Flood DFA program. And where the RM of the Rosedale is to experience staffing shortage and the applicative time to complete the repairs caused by the 22 flood damage is mid-summary of 2024. Therefore, be it resolved that the rural municipality of Rosedale requests that the province of Manitoba that the deadline be filed DFA claims for the 2022 flood be extended until August 31st, 2024.
That's two questions about that.
Okay.
Is this, it's just, the other one part of that is Bruce Lager is asking about doing some cement work on his own. And it's one of these claims. So, because he's starting to put pressure on the RM to finish. So that can come up at the end, but I just want to let you know that he's wanting to start doing his own remediation work.
I don't know, like, there's some of the sites that we're doing ourselves, so that might be okay, but there's some that are,
Sites we
Some of
have.
the bigger ones are getting done. We
Yeah,
asked for the
so I'm
extension,
not-
and maybe we get some sites done this year. Let's go with that.
I could see us actually contract that, get it done.
Something, yeah.
This
You
should
should.
go last.
The rest of it, I'll
The
say.
resolution basically asking for the extension, so let's just ask for extension, see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but still working towards just getting them done. Because some guys are certain to.
I agree, yeah, I agree 100%.
Okay, do I have a mover? Seconder? All in favor? Carried. Okay, next resolution. We, the council of the Arm of Rosedale, adopt 22 audit financial statement as prepared by Reed and Miller Chartered Professional Accountants, Inc.
It's so nice.
You want to look first, really read fast, so you're going to get that already.
Super.
Do we want that for review, or do we have, do we get one of those for review, Colin, or do we have to share that?
Uh,
I think there's nothing to change in that anyway, so we just gotta move forward.
Over there.
Yeah.
It's more and more of this normality.
Yes.
in their letter, they just said they had no problems, no discrepancies. There's no matters that needed to be brought forward to.
So there was no changes because they had provided that information to Kara for the financial plan that went through the public hearing. And so everything that was provided to her is the same as this.
But no, that's the audited statement
That's the
from
audit.
last year.
Yeah, I thought that's the information that they had given her. Because she had made some last minute changes to the financial
To the
plan.
budget. The budget, that would have been for the budget for 2023.
Well,
This is a year-old one.
This is the year.
This is the audit from
22.
last year.
Yeah,
What we did this spring was the budget for this year coming up.
right, and she had made some changes about accumulated surpluses and deficits. I thought based on communication with these guys about auditing the 2022. Or am I mistaken if she did those changes based on 21?
I don't know, probably on this.
Yeah, I can't remember. So moving forward on this, do I have a mover? Scott. Seconder. George. All in favor? Gary. Aye. What's next?
Correspondence.
Which one?
I think
Rosemary's here, you
we already did that one.
do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This one here.
Yeah, that's the one road chairs.
Okay.
All right, we'll do the last one, come in first.
Which one?
This is the one that,
Rosemary is here. Okay, so we'll do that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
you got other important work to do?
Do you have paperwork for that?
No.
Yeah, you're in, sorry. I kind of lost track where I was. Okay.
I'll just come closer, if that's all right.
No, that's fine.
have there, but you should have a letter from Nadine. And then you have 2 sealed offer purchases for some land. So I'll explain what's happening here.
Thanks.
I can find it on here. So this is, I'm gonna hold it the way that it goes. This is the north side of the tracks in Franklin. And there's a house here. And the fellow that has made an offer, he has an accepted offer on this, but it's subject to him being able to get these 2 pieces of land because he wants to have 2 acres so that he can put a tank in a field. So he has also bought this one next to it privately. So, well, not privately, through me, but, so he's got an accepted offer for these 2 and he would like to add these 2 as well. And so he is requesting in the letter that if you could make an exception and not advertise it in the paper and on Facebook and so on and so forth, because then he will not be able to, he'll either walk away from the deal, which he can do, or he won't be able to put in a septic field, just a holding tank. So I don't know if you can make an exception like that, but he has his offers in here with the down payments.
One thing further is that his buildings
Oh, yes.
encroach on.
So here, he's got 2 buildings in the back. This one is a horse shelter, and this one is like a garage. And they do encroach along the back, and so that's another reason why he's asking that it doesn't, because if somebody else buys this, then he'll be having to move buildings. So that's the request. And right now, so this is CP property down here. So, and the man who was living in this house before used to mow quite a bit of grass around here. And so it's actually my son-in-law that owns the house and is selling it. And my husband has been cutting all of this around here. So that, and it's a good thing he did because there was that fire in Franklin a little while ago. And the wind was blowing this way and it couldn't, it would have gone through here if he hadn't been cutting this. And so it would have gone up the fence, because he has a fence that goes all the way up here. And it would have burned the house down unless the fire department got there in time. But anyways, it was all good. So we were thankful. Do you have any questions about that, or?
Question I have is the lot that the municipality owns.
They own 2 lots.
Right,
So he's requesting this lot.
to buy one of those 2,
He wants to buy 2 of these so that he will have enough
right,
so
footage.
square
Right.
footage. If we have it all figured out right, which I believe we do, then this one plus this one and here gives him 2.04 acres. So he would need both of them to be able to do it. There is there's a runoff that goes like through here, but it's not on any of this land.
My question though would be though, if that lot or the 2 lots the municipality owns are comparable to the privately owned ones, you know the price of the privately owned ones.
Yes. Here?
Yeah, and if I would make this sale happen, I can't see why I would support Rosedale selling that to this person so they could put a new house on, as long as it's comparable
It's,
in price.
yeah, so this one is assessed at 1,100. This one is assessed at 900. This one's assessed at 1,600. They're pretty close. And this one is, even though it's more land, it's because it's at the back and there's no access, right? That it's assessed a little lower.
If they get this piece of property, it's gonna put a new home on it or a different
Well,
residence.
yeah, there's a house on it already, right? So then he would have to, in order to put the septic tank in,
and feel, I think he would have to consolidate all these roll numbers into one, so that he couldn't say, oh, I'll just put another house here and another house
No,
here,
yeah.
right? And I've made that clear to him, that if he puts on, you know, like, it would be one thing if he wanted to take down this house and replace it with another, but I told him he can't. If he's gonna consolidate it for the septic, that it's one house on there, and he understands that.
So is that the plan, to get a new residence?
No, I don't believe so, he wants to fix it up.
Okay.
He
So
wants
it'll
to
be a
fix it up.
residence there.
The residents over there, he's just
The-
renovating it.
Yeah, there's a residence there, it's about 14, a little over 1,400 square feet. And so he already has an agreement to buy this and this, but they're subject to him being able to buy this. So. Anything else?
Then we can set a price on, and that's what you're,
Well,
set the price of selling.
Yeah, I wouldn't,
So he's already made an offer in here, but you can, I don't know, I would assume that you could counter offer if those aren't what you wanted for it.
Because our policy, like, I wouldn't be in favor of not doing, like, following the policy in terms of taking an offer and then not advertising it. But I would be interested in setting a price, it's just doing a direct sale. That
Okay.
seems more straightforward to me,
Okay.
and also less, like, problematic, just
Right.
make it transparent.
If you can do it that way, that would be just fine. I just have the information that I got from the municipal land sale policy, so.
Yeah.
And I didn't look at the set prices because I knew there were no set prices on
I was
this.
just going to look it up, can I borrow yours?
Sure.
Sorry, I don't find it in email.
Yeah. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the last one is just the offer to purchase.
And then, so this is what I was talking about, was the properties with set prices. Council may set property sale prices by resolution whenever they deem necessary. And then any land with a price set by resolution of council is not open for offers below the set price. So, and then you don't have to go through that tender process. But the whole thing is set up to build something new, right? You're selling a lot so somebody can build something new.
Yeah, so I explained to him that if he consolidates it, then he doesn't have to have a buildings on it within the year, right?
And I just think, so, and we had said this before, like, I had a quick conversation, because we had said to somebody in Kelwood that they couldn't do that. So that's my concern now,
I think we need to revisit this,
the whole policy.
yeah, in an in-camera session or at a later date or whatever you want to do, but there's more details to this. I think we need to scratch on the surface if we want to go.
Because our policy says if we sell 2 lots like that, they're supposed to build 2 houses.
Yeah.
And it's pretty black and white. Yeah, I think anyway, it's pretty black and white. So that we have to revise that if we want to let somebody buy it to consolidate, just to do this.
Considering the previous situation we went through.
Exactly.
So for instance, there is a lot that somebody owns, and they bought where the skating rink was, where the curling rink was, and where a house was, and then they consolidated it all into one, so it's selling as one roll number,
Yeah.
right? So, but that was a while ago, so maybe policies have changed, I don't know. Anyways, he does have a date that he has to have it bought by, and it was July 24th, but in the offer before we signed, we changed it to August 24th, so that he can have, so that you can have a little more time to deal with it, and I don't know if you can get it dealt with by that time or not.
Should be, yeah.
Yes.
yeah.
I don't want to set an offer and acceptance thing of that process.
Okay, so.
Because if we do an offer and acceptance of that, like, that sets in motion something, right? That's a
Right.
formal application under the existing policy. So you're now going down a path that I don't think you or he wants.
Why is that?
Because in our existing policy, if we accept that today, that application of those checks, then we're doing the public tender process.
Right, yes, I understand that.
If they offer by the 24th, their next meeting is the 11th.
Yeah.
Can
I think we need to review it at that time. and
Review
visit
it,
then.
you know, during, and come up with,
Because if we're doing the set price, we have to do a motion, assign the value, and then ask for that check. Because then it's just a direct sale, right? And then he can consolidate however he feels.
Right, and there are people that own several roll numbers in Franklin already, right?
Yeah.
So we just had a sale recently where somebody sold 5 roll numbers because they weren't owned by the municipality, right?
And that's the difference, right? Because those two are owned by the municipality, and we said we're not selling vacant land because of what happened in Franklin, is my understanding. Robert, is
Yeah,
that
and
true?
I don't understand about that.
It's a gray area,
It-
right? Yeah.
I don't understand about that because there are, I mean, I've been looking at the lots and who owns the lots. And I've seen that, like, the municipal lots are not being mowed either. And I did, hear a comment about, well, it was because of the barons and they didn't mow their grass. And they didn't, but there were a lot of, like, I believe it's MTS has land there and it's getting all overgrown with trees and it's a mess, right? And nothing's happening with that. And then there's municipal land as well in there that some of it, people are just mowing, right? And some of
But
it is just,
I think the policy that wasn't about like being able to mow, it was about trying to get houses. And I think that's the difference, it's like maybe we should, we have to reduct the
okay,
intent of the policy.
okay, because I did hear that the reason that Rosedale wasn't selling lots in Franklin is because people weren't mowing. So maybe that wasn't
It's
accurate.
not 100% accurate.
So it was because you want them, like, if they buy land, you want them to get a house on it.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah, that's the hope,
Right,
generate some revenue.
right, exactly. So,
If you got a
I mean-
problem with MTS lot there, just call in, send them a letter. I know they,
well, I could take pictures and send them in. And there's, there are a couple of lots in there that aren't being looked after properly. But most of the time, like even Dennis Magwood across the way, he's mowing the CPR land as well. Then across the north side of the tracks, it's just growing,
yeah.
right where the elevator used to be. So do you want me to retract these for now? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying I want you to,
That,
I'm just saying that if you put a formal application in under the existing policy,
yes.
then we have to proceed with that.
So instead, we should just put the letter in and not the authors?
Like perhaps a letter requesting that we change the policy and do a set price or under existing policy. Because
Okay.
there's a lot of cautions on this one, I think, because I think we need some time to make sure, because I don't want to, like personal, I'm just speaking from me personally.
Right.
I don't want to trap somebody into an unintended consequence. Of,
Right,
you agreed to build a building.
Yeah.
Because that's what it says right now, right?
right.
And then, but it's not, it's, I want to build a septic field.
Maybe we should ask you to come back in a time frame and we'll see what we can do with our policy and make it better to fit the situation.
Yeah.
And I think maybe we should get maybe Scott here or from the planning board as well.
Or Jeff.
Yeah.
See, in Franklin right now, just about everybody has a tank and field on their tiny little lot,
Right.
right? And so it gets grandfathered in when they buy it. So, yeah, so this wouldn't get grandfathered in because what's existing there is there. And so, do you want me to read this letter or?
Can I say one thing though? I really appreciate the fact that you're working really hard to get houses in Franklin. Because they need them, and that just makes me happy.
Well, I think so. There are, some residents are concerned that they're not gonna put nice fancy houses in. And, if they bring in a bunch of old trailers or something, then that's,
You can have that stopped though.
Well,
That-
and that's one thing that I was gonna ask the person is, or do you want to go in and talk to them and say there has to be? So I do have one person too that was looking at some land I have for sale, and they said, can I put in a tiny home, like build a brand new tiny home? And I said, I'll have to check with the municipality and see what if they have any sizes, like Niquo's 800 and some square feet, right? And so if they have a size or whether they can put in a tiny home as long as it's, you know, not a piece of junk. So that's something that you can talk about too.
Yeah,
There's some pretty fancy tiny homes.
Yep. There is.
I worked on a few of them.
What's that?
Some pretty fancy tiny homes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man. I use that at my house, no problem.
So I'll just read the letter to you and then you can decide whether you think I should put it in. It just says, dear RM of Rosedale Council members, I wish to purchase roll numbers 1100 and 1400 in Franklin. I have made arrangements to purchase roll number 1200 and 1300. This way I hope to consolidate the land into one 2-acre parcel so that I will meet the requirements for installing a septic tank with the field. I'm planning to live in the house on roll number 12 and work in the financial sector in the area. I'm also asking that you provide me with an exception, namely that you would not advertise the lots elsewhere as 2 buildings on roll number 1200 encroach onto roll number 1100. Thanks in advance. Sincerely, Naveen, N.S. So are you saying I should withdraw the letter too? Because it's not really asking what you want?
I'm not saying you should withdraw the letter. I'm saying that I have concerns that if you submit that letter, that you're submitting it under our current policy.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So can I just personally ask if you can review that policy? And I can come back to the next meeting? I mean, you
I think so.
may have an in-camera
Yes,
meeting, and that's fine.
Yes, sir.
And then the next public meeting, I
Yes,
can come back.
that's your right perspective.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's the right response.
glad I caught on.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
anything else? or-
Well, that's great. Thanks for the homework.
All right, well, have a good rest of your meeting.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's the right response.
Well, how do you have any coach? Supposed to coach.
So I guess what we have to do is go through our policy again.
And what he's, it's like all relations in my beginning.
Yeah,
What happened previously, as Jeff referred to, and to make it right going forward, so we can get the tax dollar in our little communities.
Right.
Because that's, and the property looked after, like, the one that we spoke of at home is being mowed properly and beautiful.
Yeah.
And but the same with just the Dole, with the Franklin, same thing, someone owns it, to maintain it, so then it's less on our tax.
And she goes a little further than I do, like I don't have a problem with the trees growing up and anything as lot like that, but it does look shaggy up there, right?
Yeah.
And it costs like the RM, like when the green team was in there mowing all those lots and just basically wrecking the mowers.
Yeah.
Because they were just they were trying to mow all the rocks, so it was kind of painful to watch.
So can I request that the administration department gives a copy of the policy before we leave today? And we'll have it.
Want me to go through them?
So we could stroke off, so it's,
Thanks.
Yeah, is that okay, Colin? We get a copy of that policy?
No, I want to.
Then this way we can kind of review it, go through it.
But
And then we'll just send our suggestions to the CAO and ask the CAO to make the revisions.
I gotta find the policy.
step one.
you want direct look? She didn't get any Friday, that's coming in here, did you?
But kind of following with that next
Letter.
letter, about the ombudsman.
Oh, the ombuds-
About reviewing that policy, so
Yeah.
maybe we will
Review a couple.
have to review.
More than one?
Right.
Maybe we should get a copy of that one too.
Yeah, and like I said, Dan,
Maybe.
Total deals,
We didn't get that on our computer, so Kara sent us out a copy of that at the time we were going through this.
Of our policy for the water.
I can't remember.
I think we did, no, Yeah, not quite.
Not with the board, city, city.
I think would be, could both get Polly's email to us, and we may have to tread lightly in this and have a special meeting, just review that before the next meeting.
Yeah, contribute.
Because it may take a little time, I don't know, he's just throwing it out there.
The country at one.
Yeah, concentrate on
Get it
those.
right.
So they all must, this is just table for now.
No, it's
Yeah.
each person.
Well, they're both meetings.
We're not with it.
I'm sorry.
No worries, just, it's really what people.
Do this one now? Okay, letter here from, dear council members, I've been a part of the Green Team for several years now. I'm grateful for the opportunity, have the opportunity to look after the Bernie Cemetery due to the raising fuel costs of fuel, supplies and equipment. Over the few years, I'm requesting an increase in pay per grass cutting to coincide with the inflation. Thank you, Alex Wahowski. What the South is getting now, I tell them.
300 a month, 300 per cut, pardon me. Yeah. Yeah,
Should have all before.
that's my suggestion.
Yeah, I think we should. It's been doing a good job, needs to take
They
care
do
of that place.
a good job there, so going forward, per cut, I think, is out of the question.
Cost of fuel.
And they do it minute or maximum is, or they do it every 2 weeks, depending on grass growth, of course. You know, so they probably did it for a while now, it's probably slowing down, so they might be doing it maybe monthly. They analyze it and go from there, so.
Yeah.
I think going to 4 is realistic, I agree 100%.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
So, yeah.
Actually, there was some landscaping there too since I was there last.
Yeah,
That's some of the low spots.
Oh, yeah.
Now they work.
Yeah, we're pretty.
Pretty soon, sure. I can feel it. I don't know what the time says, but I can feel it.
And I brought donuts. I kept looking at them going, oh.
So
Too many
how
people on the
much
road.
400, up to.
Up to 4.
Yeah, from 3 to 4.
From 3 to 4.
Of course, cost will be line up from here. There's a bonus. There are costs
Okay. Be it resolved, we have increased the wages for Alex Wahowski for mowing the Burning Cemetery to $400 per cut. Do I have a mover? Second. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Notice a public hearing for variation applicant in the town of Depot. Okay, so they're having a public hearing. It's July 18th, 2023, 7:05 PM. Application B-06-2023 and Dale and Sarah Lowen. Megan Price of Concession Land Solutions to allow excessive draining of the land to complete the lot grading and the damage by law of the town for the installation of tile drainage on a large tracts of vacant land within the town of Newport boundaries, southeast 415 west. Probably was installed a drainage tile which would allow the section to land to be permeable. That's from the district board, Scott. Yeah. So this is just a notification, or?
Right, if we had a problem with it, we could go in and, but since we were all gonna have
Yeah,
tile draining, so it'd just be.
That's that piece just going out of town.
Yeah,
You get to the correction line, it's to the east, or, yeah, to the east. There's that pie-shaped one that goes up to the bridge. Pretty sure that's the one they're talking about, because they were out surveying it.
That's one of.
There's the Trans-Canada Trail and the highway, it's right in between, there's that little pie-shaped area.
oh, okay.
There's three sites on that application.
Yeah,
I'm saying
it'd be that one, or probably be the one that's on the other side. 'Cause he farms the one on the other side too, and then he's got
Yeah.
more, that's right there. They're all in that real swamp.
And they're all gonna drain
low area.
into that creek.
Yeah. Drainage.
So it's more or less just going into a natural drain anyways, right?
Yeah, it's one, it does go there, but it just, he wants to make it so it actually, the state going there,
Right.
so he can farm it. It's not very often he farms that.
Well, we used to all the time, but
Yeah.
the last bunch of years, I don't know,
Too much water.
can't seem to. Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with it.
I don't either.
It's not gonna hurt anything.
I know it's over here.
Yeah.
That's in your.
No, that's town. My ward starts just past this right.
Oh, I see, it's the water test.
Right here.
Okay.
See this pie sheet right here?
Yeah,
And then you got this one here.
that weight is down.
And I think he's talking about this one that's in ours.
Just drained into the Rosedale.
Oh, I see, it's the
Yeah,
water's
and
coming
then
into
the
that
street
street.
that's
Yeah.
going
That's good, we discussed that before.
That's just,
I think so, too.
yeah, I would send in and just go back on the frame. Is that right? Am I right?
Yeah, I would say that's what it's.
Yeah. What is this?
You know, I was just send your copy of the thing, and this is your big.
Yeah.
I thought we talked about that before, that's why there's a hearing, where's the hearing,
So,
this is just, he's sending about this road quickly.
Councilor Gravel.
HES sale,
Says North Reading,
Oh,
1986.
yes, yeah.
road maintainer unit.
instead of a hearing,
Oh, anyone has you?
yeah,
I did see the brochure. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Collapse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so then you had to take it
So-
over to the culvert.
So,
And then, of course, you needed a.
Well, the sun built up
gravel.
also.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
12 graders for the new road, those were, they just love them.
city letter.
Well, the closest, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Because he, actually, we were having that one meeting, and right after that, he texted me on the way home, and I sit there, and, well,
It's
he
just
needed you to get it
another
done, road's closed, right? So,
Yeah.
on Friday, so let's get it done. So,
Yeah.
hoping I can go, like, turn my hand out. That was that road meeting, we asked for information on. They were supposed to come do a demo and haven't. I think at this point, it's something we can put on the back burner for future reference. That's my thinking on it.
Literature for improvement.
Yeah. It's good information, but it's information, right? It's late enough in the year, I don't think we have time to proceed.
Okay, Amanda Clausen, Ryan Mountain Cemetery Committee, landscaping.
So we start talking now? I guess that, the request for that is, makes the Rosedale kind of a more rubber stamping thing, because this money was put into a fund for, the Riding Mountain Cemetery by a resident of Riding Mountain who passed away. And they use that money to improve the look, I guess, of the Riding Mountain Cemetery. So that's the request they're asking. They're just asking us to give them the permission to spend their own money on this project, which is I think she has a map, which is just a trail between the gates at the beginning of the cemetery to there's a gazebo that's in the middle of there. They're just trying to make it nice. They've been talking about that for a couple of years. So they're just looking for us to allow them to spend that money. That's good. Which they trusted us because they needed to put it in some government body when they spent the past away. So yeah, we left put some money there. So this is an expensive.
This is a $29,000
Yeah, this is the
Donate money.
that's, but they're just having his money like we
Just give the okay.
basically that's what they're asking us to do. So I don't have a problem too.
I just want to make sure that, like, when it's in our accounts, do we have to follow the Arnold Rosedale tendering policy?
Well, in this letter, she tried to get 3 quotes and got 1. And I mean, this landscaping is not a huge business, I guess, but she did, there's a letter come that said she applied for the proper quotes and received 1 back.
Yeah.
So she's, I mean, they're, I guess frustrated, they just want to move forward.
Yeah.
Well, the season's on.
I just didn't notice that part.
Okay, that's just, yeah, so yeah, they tried, and that's, so I guess that's a big exception.
Is this the first time they've started spending this money?
No, they put a fence there a few years ago. Yeah, they just tried to pick a project, they did a map, they put up a map board a few years ago, that maps the cemetery itself.
Okay.
And laminated, we haven't laminated now, but there's a board part of that, so it's, as far as cemeteries go, it looks pretty nice. But, no, he did a good thing because he had no family and he died pretty young, so.
So, we just give them the go-ahead, or do we have to make a resolution, or do we have to?
I guess we have to make a resolution to give them approval to move, to use the money. That's, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not really our money, it's not really
Right.
our money, it's actually called Jeff Kirk Foundation. What's the name? That was his name. I don't know why people trust us with it.
They knew you better.
They don't trust me with it, I guess that's the issue. Oh, it's nice to see, and they look after the cemetery pretty good. I mean, Rosedale does the grass cutting and stuff, but these stuff are nice little additions for people that listen to their family members. There were some nice I think. We put a couple of pages of these and what's up to.
Well, I've heard a few comments about how the equal cemetery is going downhill, and it used to be in this amazing place.
I happened to have been there a couple weeks ago, so there's a picture there of what you're talking about.
Is that the right cemetery picture?
Yeah, it's got the Jeff
Oh, yeah,
Kirk
that's,
statue.
Has the new gates.
And north and south of that, there's a new metal fence, like a, well, the fence where, it's no, it is pretty decent.
It's nice when people are going forward, instead of letting things go back.
Yeah, and we do it, our community, because we got keep the grass back, they do this extra stuff, it's and they're making it so it's still maintained, they're gonna just go over the sidewalk, just like sidewalk, it's gonna be, grinding all sorts of speaker, just need walkways.
Yeah.
And they have a committee that.
Yeah, small committee now, there's lots of them. Passed on, where we're at, get there, Mary Woodsky, Sharon Davis, and Ross, and our committee members right now, I guess I sit on that board unofficially.
Okay.
As our rep, but they have like 7 or 8 members when I came in. Things happen for you.
Yes.
You know, small communities, small committees.
I think I'll make a comment now. We've got this Matthew Bolton Franklin Hall.
Yep, yep.
That's an example of what happens when the committee becomes too small and one person becomes, and it just, so I'll talk more about that.
You know what, I get it, 100%, we get it, maybe the county got those.
Okay, the council of the RM of Rosedale accepted a tender from Parkside Gardens Greenhouse of $23,461.20 for landscaping of the Rye Mountain Cemetery. Robert. Seconder, Robert Scott.
All in favor?
Carried.
Yeah. This and that.
Okay, Minister. Environmental and climate.
Advising that there's new
I think
grants.
that's just for review.
That's just what the grants, right? So,
Has everybody
seen this?
Yes, I have, yeah.
Any council deals. Is that BP, Community Fund,
Foundation,
Foundation?
fundraising golf fund.
Oh, okay.
Did we already give them money last 2 years ago? I thought that had come up.
Lots of new plain stuff, guys. They're different. Different plain
There's
stuff.
this-
I have those.
I don't think this is, he phoned me about this. I asked him to request this.
Yeah. So, yeah. Oh, please find an attached request letter pledging from for our upcoming golf tournament to be held August 14th. Robert Scott requested I submit them to the Rosedale office. Thank you, Dan Gillis. I find no problem in this.
Did you put the amount?
No, he's got it here, 500.
500, yeah.
Do you have any money? We're doing that, any money?
That's how I would suggest.
Yeah, it's up to you.
Yeah. Good.
So is that one from everybody, and that's like, we'll go 600 then, or?
Whatever.
That you think we can do that?
In favor of
Yeah,
that?
You're good? Okay.
As long as everybody's good.
So we'll have to change that.
You're all right with that, Jim?
Oh, yes.
600
Oh, no,
percent.
Not
Sorry,
really.
I money anymore.
Well, we're
So
out.
we go 600 then?
Don't spend it all, because the Legion is all.
the Legion's on.
One right here twice.
We beat you though.
Oh, two separate legions, sorry, you're ahead of the list. Late to the game again.
Yeah. Everybody put $100 in, that's.
Well, it's easy enough to do the math that way, that's.
Yeah.
So 6 times 100, huh?
North to right, right.
See, we're way up there.
Be the council of the RM of Rosedale Grant Political Finance Community Foundation, Inc. 600 as sponsors for the PTCF Golf Tournament in 2023 from VLT fundraising awards $1 to $600. Do I have a mover? Robert Scott.
Seconder. All in favor?
Carried.
Before you do something crazy, you could do great for lunch.
That's what I was gonna.
Because notice, because
I think we can squeeze one for another 30 seconds.
Because if we,
You missed
this
that one.
delegation will be here at 1:30 to let me know time right now.
Like I would imagine.
And me and Alan gotta eat for the whole hour.
That delegation, are we moving?
Okay, so we'll break for lunch then.
I think so. Yeah, no, Tony said we suggested you do.
Scattered. There is a few people coming.
I
Or we-
I don't know.
Just read the preparation, yeah.
We're upstairs for the 11:31.
Yeah. Or we can get some more done.
I'm not-
1:30 hopefully.
Okay, we'll make that, we'll get back.
Get back, good night.
Okay, our next order of business. Municipal assessment grant. Order of origin date, October 13, 2023.
that was just informational, right? Or is that- Did anybody, just come through you, if somebody feels, does it go through you and then?
Yeah, did we, or, no, it goes to both, assessment branch or,
Yeah. Maybe that kind of, what other things to do?
That's what the board said you have to pay for. What's that? That's what you have to pay for. It's not that.
No.
Oh, thanks, son. So this is more or less just information, is it? Okay.
Look at the fees.
Yeah, I see that. He was only there for an hour.
Why not? Do the application now.
What was this? Was it yesterday?
Oh, fine. Just saw it, that's the first thing, but we have to get them because
Oh.
Municipal grant, okay, this is just information, right?
Yeah, it's just information.
So the courageous canine one,
Yeah.
I don't, personally, I don't like those ones. I don't like supporting that stuff. Because they are, there's, I don't know, I just find them all to be slightly shady, slightly suspicious.
I don't know what that is.
It's,
What is it? I'm just, yeah, I'm just reading.
Oh, you
it's
can
service
service
dogs for veterans. So, but it always seems to be that these things turn into, basically, it's just a business more so than it's any kind of a charitable organization.
Replacing our, yeah, your business card.
just, we sponsored it last year, so that's, we don't have to.
Yeah. I would like not to read it myself.
I can take it back.
sounds like it's 13,000.
Yeah, you do $295.
That's what we want.
Or, yeah, addition. Of annual, yeah. The annual fee, $295.
What's canines with veterans?
The service dogs technically
For,
affect,
yeah.
but there's
Police officers.
no way, no feedback, no way to check, no way.
Well, it's actually happening.
It's just basically us giving them some money to put up that publication.
Correctional officers, military personnel.
Usually that stuff that we should kind of spearhead, right?
Yeah.
Veterans.
And I would much rather put money into a Legion than.
So they put
We
it
don't
there.
have to, right, we can just give it that back.
What's that?
We can just give
Is
it
that
back.
because your request is
I'll
next?
just say no.
Yeah, right.
Right now, right this minute, yeah.
Okay.
But, just say,
We send it. Royal Canadian Legion request for support. $340 we did last year.
Is it going to do that BLT or?
No, I think we just get it.
that's for the,
Legion,
Yeah,
I see 2 Legion requests on this list.
Royal Canadian Legion request for support.
Yeah, I don't have that there.
I'll have it.
This is still the support dog.
Well, you're down there.
Yeah, I see that. I see that with the prior.
That's Manitoba, Northwestern Ontario Command.
Oh, that's, okay.
May check into that. That's what it says here.
Yeah,
We gave that last year.
yeah. Manitoba.
Well, that's the thing, I think we put our, the Legion advertised in, is it?
And that's that book.
For the leash.
Every year.
Sir, yeah, military service recognition book.
Yeah.
So it's
For the page we put in.
Yeah.
We supported that for quite a few years, haven't we?
Bill, which one did you do last year? Do you remember?
I can't remember what we did last
It's
year.
the same.
Well, Carl's
Last year you did $340.
Okay, that's a lot, like quarter page, and a quarter of this.
So, bucks, that's 300.
So 300 instead of,
What's 340? Needs to be
Has to be
340.
340.
oh, it has to
Then let's go 60.
$61.27 each.
That'll work.
Break it up between all of us.
Yeah. Split it up between all the work.
Yeah, make it nice and even. It's
Split it between the
340
So if
divided
you
by
got
6.
6,
Figure it out.
it'd be $55. Right, 55 a piece?
Did you say 340?
Yeah.
Yeah.
350, 57.
5666. 56.
The sixes are.
Seven.
If it's easier to do the math on that, just $50 from everybody and what if I top up the other 40? Is that easier to do, calling?
Well, this,
Or does it matter? Doesn't matter? Okay, just go equal, 6 wards then. Yeah.
Divide,
divided by 6 is
6 wards divided by 6.
Okay. The Arnold Rosedale purchased a 40-page for the amount of $340 towards the Royal Canadian Legion Military Service Recognition Book in 2023.
VLT.
Mover, Robert Scott, BLP, and second, Ron Thompson. All in favor? Carried.
Put on there from VLT.
He was there yesterday.
BLT?
VLT, divide by 6.
Wow.
He was there.
So that should show something to why.
It doesn't say, it just says this is when the invoice will be.
So he was back again.
Is that the change of the licensing?
Frequency, frequencies.
Had to come out and did the,
Frequencies and all that change, or?
yeah, we had to get our own license.
Yeah.
And they
Yes.
filled out the form for us and submitted it. And then they came out and because they thought rather than us ripping them all out of the machine,
Right.
they would, guys felt more comfortable with them coming out.
Oh, yeah, definitely, yeah. Do a licensing.
Okay, next, transportation. Infrastructure, structure replacement at Northeast 9, 17, and 15 West.
That's that Thompson Hill they call it there, just south of Vernon. They put in pavement up there. That's the big call it they're talking about there. Approximately 5 hours. That's the location. Nothing we can do about it, they're just sending us information, so it's.
So it's all information.
Yeah, that's the way I read it.
You don't know any details.
Well, it's all the sketching is there now too, it's on, they're putting in a box, they're building a complete box culvert underneath the whole road, that's what I understand, but
That's there now.
no, I don't know.
That
what-
failed, it's about, remember Ron, that time, that culvert in number 5 highway failed. They were worried that they were gonna have to shut the highway down. They were down fixing there, they had a bunch of equipment. It was after a big flood.
Say George Caution's to the north, Thompson Hill, they call it.
Okay.
George's place there.
Yeah. Now they're putting this box culvert in,
Now they're gonna redo it.
so nothing to do with us.
And they'll build, I'm sure they'll build,
You know, build wings on it and everything, or, like, reinforcement walls.
I did that over years ago as a kid, playing in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Big
I
culvert.
remember, that's what kind of culvert it was.
I know they were in the patch,
Yeah.
Like that, a couple times already now, so it keeps on going this way.
yeah.
But they just want to make sure that there's not any municipal rural water lines or municipality company, any kind of underground facilities like the fiber or water, like that. Yeah, but there's no conflict with our stuff, is there?
No, no. And they'll be doing all that locates for that, I imagine, anyway, they should have.
That's their
So
problem.
they'll do that without disturbing the traffic? They'll do that without disturbing the traffic?
I don't know how they're gonna do it, oh, no idea.
Well,
Board.
one of those other ones, they built a shoe fly. Supposed to go around to the winter, yeah.
That would be a neat shoot. Would,
Constantly.
yeah, bring it that rock screen there.
Supposed to start this October, they're gonna start doing it.
The 16th is one underneath, right?
Hey, Manitoba Planning Conference, October 25th to the 27th, 2023. The Delta Hotel, Winnipeg, Manitoba. Come celebrate in person.
Is that something for us to attend, or is that more like?
I think it's just information planning, it's quite a conference there.
So it's like for Stockton, Jeff?
Yeah. That's their deal.
Oh, okay. So this is more or less just.
Just information, I would say.
Okay. Equal Economic Development sponsor for children's business affair.
And those are heavily subsidized by the federal government. Like I know that the Western Diversification puts money into that. And like, I don't think that, again, this is my personal opinion, but because it's basically 100% funded by the feds, I don't think we need to fund it out of the BLTs.
I know NATCO's being a sponsor.
Is it?
Yeah, that was a question that came out, I think it was $300. I think they're going to the municipalities and the town for support. What I read, that was a brand new deal. I don't think it's ever been here before. They didn't say anything about federal government.
They run them in quite a few different towns.
Okay.
They've done them in Paw, Swan, and Newfoundland, Swan, and they've always been basically funded.
It's for kids that have a business or want to develop a business. Have a product that they want to.
And they, I know the one in Vaughan, they came basically to this almost a day camp for junior entrepreneurs. They would go in for a week and they would learn stuff.
If you're curious about it, I can actually speak to the business fair. I've actually done an interview with Marilyn Crew about it. So it's just, the kids have to do it themselves. It's just a sale. They're doing it during the farmer's market on August the 10th. There'll be a section set off that is just the children's business fair. They have to do their own marketing, they have to make their own products, they have to do their own sales. So the parents can't help, and that's kind of all it is. So there's no, there's no parents kind of doing this thing. So it's just about 3 hours, I think, on that day, on August 10th, is what this is gonna be.
I just wrote a story on the one happening in Brandon. It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the kids there that did that last year, they really loved it. And that's what the parents were saying, is it really taught the kids that mom and dad aren't just gonna go buy your supplies. Take your earnings, go buy more supplies. So yeah, it's a neat idea.
And it's kids age 6 to 15.
Yeah.
So that's what that is.
That's quicker than you. Thanks for that.
Yeah, no worries.
Well, yeah,
But they asked for
we're
something.
looking at a sponsorship of $200.
That's the definition I need?
Yeah.
BLT money?
Yep.
Yes.
200 divided by 6.
33.
There you go.
33.
Yeah, a little bit, and a little bit.
All three, bunch.
All three.
Not a poker hand, I'll go for it.
I'm all in. They're all in. Yeah.
Swap phones with Cloud.
That we are in the Rosedale Swamps, the children business fair for $200 from BLT. So they have another seconder from Scott. All in favor? Carried. England Chairman sponsorship for market, Baker's Market. Sit down. Just one chair, please. That's the one?
No, we did.
Oh.
Did we do it last year?
Okay, yeah. 800 people sponsor $100, which will go towards event expenses associated with running the event and asking for volunteers to help for 2 days.
You can volunteer.
So it's the third annual, it runs July 21st to 22nd. Eco Tourism Committee is seeking support, marketing.
Is it worthwhile?
I'm not sure, that's probably is, I'm not sure.
If you want more information, I can speak to that too. I literally just did an interview yesterday about this. So it is the third annual. This is the Riverman Market they do down by the pool. They've been doing it for the last 3 years. Brings in about 800 to 1,000 people come through this market, and they do various children's activities as well. They bring in things like that. They do some music over the Friday night and then over the day during Saturday. And this year there's some public art projects, things like that.
So are we part of the Neepawa community or are we separate?
Technically separate.
Yeah, I guess that's where I have a hard time.
Yeah.
It's like,
Bringing Rosedale right here, money into people.
yeah, and whether they need Rosedale money or not. Not whether necessarily it's a good idea or a good, I mean, it's right now a good event, but whether it should be, or like, I don't know, like, is there a significant Rosedale buy-in to the Maker's Market? Because I know that those guys in Kelwood do a heck of a thing on their farmers markets and that, with that 10 layers deep stuff.
Yeah.
Like, they're really working hard.
Yeah, well, lots of good products coming out of the
Yeah.
village,
Yeah.
and it's not funny.
It's not fun,
Yeah.
exactly, like, we're almost funding their competitors in a way, or supporting their competitors.
Yeah, no, yeah.
There are people from Rosedale that do attend it.
There is, okay.
They're not asking for a lot, I guess, no, looks out of that.
So we do 100 last year?
Yeah.
So we do 100 and 150 this year, $25 each VLT done. I don't know, $25 each? Yeah. You guys good with that?
I'm good with it.
So $100 then?
150 actually. 150.
150?
Yeah.
Each.
Second half.
I actually did that with my head already. Jeff here from here.
8 minutes.
So that would be 50.
150, yeah. Okay, Rosedale sponsors the Riverman Makers Market for 150 from BLT. And Dave Judd, second. Rosedale. All in favor? Carried.
information
Yeah, well,
about the infrastructure.
I know where it comes from.
yeah, well, that's great.
That's just that information.
That's just information onto the transfer of gravel road agreements. Hospital.
I'd rather just give money to the local hospital.
We just said, yeah, same thing.
And then what's all that here?
Yeah, yeah,
We can't,
same thing
we
though.
can't hold this over till
These are both the same.
August if we
Why do
we
that?
don't have to make a decision today. but-
This is the hospital road.
Yeah.
We're showing. So you just want to table it?
Yeah, with them.
Table it till next meeting.
We don't, definitely don't need to.
You want to move upstairs or?
Yeah, this.
Alright, so we'll move upstairs now.
Oh, really?
So I'll ask Mr. Darren Pajak to forward. Listen to his appeal.
Hi there. May I ask just some general questions? Is it acceptable with your council's permission to take an audio recording of this for my own benefit? Because I have a legal representation that cannot be here today. Obviously, I'm asked to be a spokesperson to this, and only one of us could have been here to act as spokesperson. So for my committee, I'd be looking to get an audio recording based on the overall conversation that we have here. Is that acceptable? Not a video, but an audio recording. Like I could set my phone on the counter and just audio record this.
Does anybody have a problem with that?
So that is acceptable?
Yeah.
She can record an audio. Okay, so before we start, I'm going to start with audio recording. Once again, it's not going to have any video, it's just simply going to be the audio. Yeah. Thank you. First and foremost, I just want to thank everyone for being here. Obviously, this is something that has absorbed a significant amount of attention from the community and from council and from the surrounding area, let alone people from other provinces. Of course, you guys are aware that this did reach CBC News. This also was posted in the Brandon Sun. So this is something that many people have seeked involvement in, and many people are voicing their concerns, whether that is against what I've done wrong or over the general proceedings that are happening here. So for that, I thank you guys for giving this the attention that I truly believe this deserves. So once again, I thank you. First and foremost, my name is Darren Pajak. I am a private, licensed, insured, and qualified contractor in your guys' area. My insurance number is 01006BW001. My business license registry number is 101698885 for the docket. Okay, so now that you guys have a better idea of who I am, because I can imagine you guys have never met me before, I think we can all agree that this will be the first time we've ever met. Yeah, I think so. I think it'd be fair to say I've never actually met any of you before. Okay. So, anyways, yeah, I would like to speak on my own behalf here. These were my dogs. So, like, I'm not legal representation, I'm speaking on my own behalf here. I'm not even sure if I even will be getting legal representation. I'd like to speak to you guys first and, carry on with this meeting and see what you guys have to say before I decide further what might be needed in this situation. So, just so everyone has a general idea of the nature of what's happened here, we have a document that has been issued by the Arm of Rosedale. This was given to me actually on July 11th, just recently. This is a briefing of the individual incidents that has happened and has been taken forward to your council. You guys understand that? Okay, so the very first incident was reported on August 12, 2022. Okay, so that is over a year ago. And you guys would consider on your own behalf that you would say that this is a serious offense? Would you guys consider that these violations based on the civil rights violations, would you guys say that your council considers this a serious matter? Yes, you do? Okay. I would agree, and I would concur. So seeing as you have 1, 2, 3, 4 different specific violations that you guys consider serious and you guys deem a hazard for your municipality, I ask you, in your own words, how can you say, or in your best words, how can you explain that this is the very first time this has ever been brought to council? If you say that we have been having serious violations dating back since August 12, 2022, and this is the very first time I've had time to speak with your council, and we have not brought this to a hearing, how can you say that you had concerns, but you didn't think it was deemed council-worthy? In your own words, please.
Sure. I'll just speak from my understanding of it here. And that is, the reason it's not to this point is because this is when the dogs were finally impounded. Okay. So prior to that, it was complaints and response by council. This is, the reason it's coming here is because of the dogs being in the kennel. Okay. That is, I think, the only real difference is it's finally got to the point where we have dogs.
So then I would concur that it is fair to say that until the last incident with the dogs being seized, there was no reason for this to be brought to council, and no reason that this was, taken out of on a serious note. Thank you.
I think you're paraphrasing me a little too. So here, you put a few words in my mouth that I didn't intend to say, or you just misconstrued. So I think you took that one a little too far. I would say, because I'm new here, I would defer to these two guys over here because I believe they've discussed it before. So I'm going to quit talking on this, it's going past my experience.
Okay. Well then, that would maybe be fair. So then, say for example, now this is something that has escalated to a severe state. All right, now, revising the nature of here of what has happened. Let's say, for example, I am entirely 100% guilty of these civil violations. Okay? Say, for example, I indeed did encounter these problems, and I did indeed encounter this last problem, which resulted in my dog being seized. Why did I not have fair trial? Why did I not get a chance to have fair trial? Because you guys understand that I voiced my legal right to appeal before my dogs were seized. So before you chose to seize my animal, I had already voiced my right to appeal that decision. I also voiced my right to have a council hearing. Before you took my animals from my home and my family, you guys didn't give me my fair trial. Is that correct?
No.
That's not correct. All right. So would you say in your own words that if I get myself in a civil dispute or I'm guilty of a civil violation, would you say that I have the right to appeal? Yes or no?
In general, like philosophically, are we talking through a structured legal environment?
A structured legal environment. Do I have the right to appeal the decisions made by your council? Yes, I do. Okay. So then, I gave notice to the Arm Rosedale office. This is a photocopy of my notice. This was actually given to the Arm Rosedale office on Friday, the 8th, of my notice of appeal. Would you guys be able to shed some light on when you guys got this? When did this reach your guys' desk?
Can we see it? I'm not sure.
Yeah, sure. You don't have a copy of this? Because if I'm in it, okay, well, fair enough. Go ahead. May I?
Yeah, you may. Thank you.
So again, looking back at the last incident that made this an extreme matter, on the 5th, on Wednesday, I came into the RMO Rosedale office and I asked for my documents of my seizure because you guys issued a seizure on the 5th of July to seize my animals. Against my will and against my wants, you guys issued your right to seize the animals. Right. On Wednesday, I asked for my official documents so that I could send them to my lawyer because my lawyer is telling me that you guys have to give me a legal documentation if you guys are going to seize my animals. Is that correct? Do you guys have to give me a legal document upon seizing my animals? Like, do I get a copy of that? Is
I
that?
have no idea what you get.
Sorry?
I have no idea what you're entitled to, but I think the whole gist of this thing is your dogs were not where they were supposed to be.
Right. I understand that.
Yes, and they did considerable harm when they were away from your property.
Understood, sir.
Right. So what are we arguing here? All this jitter-jatter about we didn't serve you this paper or that paper.
Well, unfortunately, sir, my dogs made me guilty of a minor, maybe even a medium-scale civil violation, but violating my public health rights is a larger offense. And violating my human rights is a much larger problem that we have in my minor civil violation of my dog's roaming. You guys have violated my human rights, you have violated my public rights. I have a legal right to documentation, and that needs to be issued to me the day of you seize my animals. When you seize my animals, and I'm speaking on behalf of every dog owner and every pet owner in this RM in this town of Municipality, if you are going to seize anyone's animals, at least get a document, because if I have to go home and call a lawyer, I have to go and give them and relay this information to a lawyer. My lawyer is sitting in his office in Winnipeg, and he is still waiting for my legal documentation. My lawyer is not here today representing this case because he still doesn't even know what has happened. You guys have left him a paper trail. I have not issued my legal documents. And this will be held, you guys will be held accountable for your actions. I will, and I always have been, responsible for my animals. You guys also will be held accountable for what you have done and how you have violated I assure you of that. And this will be done legally and lawfully, and it will be up to the courts to decide who is truly violated here. If I'm guilty and my dog's roaming, sure, I'll own up to that. That'll go to court. But what you guys have done to me, the way that you have violated me, has proven your guys' inability to properly deal with these situations. You have proven your inability to properly follow the law, and this will be documented, and you will be held accountable.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Yes,
Or
sir.
do you prefer to proceed on that?
Go ahead.
How did you know the dogs were diseased?
Well, I was the one that worked with them. So when I went to respond to the incident, I'm not sure if you're aware, but the incident was the Nipoa Bird Sanctuary left their gates open, and their back gates were left open to their enclosures, and all night the gates were left open. Children could have went inside and got hurt. Animals could have went inside and preyed on the animals. Unfortunately, well, this has been documented by our CMP, sir, so please, we have some respect here to the matter.
I think we've given you lots of respect. Sitting here listening to this, if you were a decent human being, you made sure those dogs were at home and not bothering other people.
Okay, that's fair to say. Now, what if I told you that the Brandon Center for Adult Psychiatry has information and has been documented and registered as someone who suffers from real mental illness? So say, for example, I have bipolar and I suffer from manic depression, and I have mental disabilities. In what way, sir, would you say that you have accommodated and had patience and dealt with me as a specific individual who deals with mental illness? In which way did you accommodate my mental illness?
Why are you directing your attention to me?
Well, you just asked me a question, sir.
I think we want to.
I think so too.
Well, I think it's pertinent to this case to understand that I do identify I have mental illness. So that when you are documenting and you are issuing extreme fines to individuals in your community, would you, as the council of the Arm of Rosedale, not understand that it is pertinent and necessary to understand whether or not these people are capable of fully understanding and fully dealing with these decisions themselves? If I have a mental disability that enables me from understanding your information properly and then relaying that and transitioning that into action directly regarding the situation, that is a mental barrier. And I believe, whether or not, I believe as someone who is listed to the government as someone who's mentally disabled, that I would deserve someone who gives special attention to this to ensure that your messages are getting through. Does that make sense? So, speaking on your own behalf, how would you say that my mental illness was accommodated? In what way did you accommodate my mental illness? Did you or did you not do anything?
I think the situation is the dogs itself, not your capability of understanding what we put out.
Okay, but clearly, if there's civil violations that are intricate and complex, and I am someone who's listed and is registered and is recognized by the government as someone who has mental illness, in what way did your council accommodate for my mental disability?
Are these dogs registered with the government as being a dog for your illness?
Not yet.
Well, that's the thing. I just dealt with a guy on the weekend, and he has PTSD, and he's got a registered dog, but that dog does not leave his side. I don't care if a kid calls him right there, that dog will not leave his side.
Okay.
I just talked to him, he was telling me his whole thing, that dog does not move. If somebody moves too fast, the dog gets in the way. Because he's scared. So, if they're a registered dog, I understand. The dog should never leave your side ever. It shouldn't have to be on a leash, it shouldn't have to be on nothing. It will not walk away.
Well, just to brief you guys, I do assure you, my dog's roaming has been something that I have 110% taken responsibility for. I have worked, believe it or not, at sometimes 16-hour shifts in your community, and then gone home with a flashlight to work on my dog enclosure because I'm trying that hard to ensure that my dogs never roam again. My enclosure is 7/8 of the way done. It was days away from finishing the enclosure that would hopefully stop them from never roaming again, that they eventually broken off their leashes and they accidentally got roaming and they easily walked into the Nicola Bird Sanctuary. If that Nicola Bird Sanctuary had their gates closed, my dogs would maybe never have gotten in there. And I assure you of that because my dogs have been documented by animal control to be well fed. And as prime, they actually scored 5 out of 5 for health. Knowing that my dogs are well fed, I can almost assure you that they would not have dug underneath the fence. And this is slander, and this is misinformation, and it had not been fact checked. So when I was accused of my dogs, like, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of the severity of this, but someone made a Facebook post. The Nicola Bird Sanctuary made a public Facebook post that got a significant amount of attention. They stated that the dogs dug inside. RCMP responded to the scene, and they actually made the Nicola Bird Sanctuary show them where did the dogs dig in so they could take pictures, because that would be a big difference. If the enclosures had the back gates unfortunately left open and they walked inside, or the dogs dug underneath the fence, this paints 2 separate different pictures. The RCMP followed up, thankfully, and they made them show them where did the dogs in fact dig in, and they were caught lying. So in fact, my dogs did not dig inside. Okay. Now, I was just finished telling you guys that I am trying my very best for these dogs to never have to run into this trouble again, because let's face it, who wants to be here today? Who wants to deal with this? And who wants to have to go through all this? I have been charged thousands, in which I have paid. I have gone through a tremendous amount of stress. And at the end of the day, it all boils down to the genetics and the natural instincts of my animals. My 2 animals that have been taken away from me, one is 70% Siberian Husky, the other one is 70% Alaskan Malamute. The genetics of these dogs are to have a high prey drive and to roam. This is their natural instincts. This is not a matter of neglect or a dog that's vicious and biting. It is the natural genetics of these animals. And I have the right, I believe, to call upon an expert opinion. And I have the right to call upon whoever is going to deal with this to have the qualifications to speak on behalf of high-breed energy dogs. Now, speaking for yourselves, who and which of you would say that you have qualifications, and could you speak upon your own individual qualifications? How do you say that you are qualified to make decisions and deal with high-energy breed animals such as huskies?
I'm going to have to stop there, Mr. President, because Ray, you know very well that we're not qualified to do these questions. I've given you a chance.
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear that. Could you speak a little bit louder?
Well, we're not qualified to answer your questions about we're hiding the stall owners or how they work or that. I mean, we're a council.
I understand.
So
may I propose that, seeing as this maybe deserved a trial, maybe from the beginning of this, we should have had this meeting. Say, for example, we proceeded a little bit too quickly without getting the proper image of what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with an individual who works very hard in your community, who has mental illness, who needs those dogs for his mental health, who will be traumatized and will go through detrimental consequences if those dogs are killed or taken away from him. My dogs have been locked in a cage for 15 days. I went to the vet clinics. They are crying to go home. Do you realize that? So maybe we should have looked at this differently. Maybe when these problems arise in your community, I can propose that we should have had a council meeting sooner and we could have possibly avoided the majority of these problems that are going on. When these problems arose and I needed help from you guys, because let's face it, I ran into trouble with my dogs, not because I wanted to, but because they're IMG-free dogs. I made a mistake when I bought them. I didn't realize the trouble that they would cause me. I didn't do that to be a bad person. I'm not angry with it. So then, can I propose that we take some steps back and we get an expert to make a decision on this, and we get an expert to examine this situation, and maybe an expert who has experience with Siberian Huskies could examine my dogs and realize, you know what, they're not very dangerous, they're not even very aggressive dogs. They haven't been fixed yet, and they don't have a proper enclosure. So maybe we should start with fixing the animals and ensuring they get a proper enclosure first before we start fining this young gentleman thousands of dollars in fine, taking his animals away from his home and causing civil unrest and public uproar.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to stop here.
Okay.
Everything's, we'll take into advisement.
All right. Well, I warn you that I have told each and every one of you that I am asking that you guys release my animals, and I am asking that each and every one of you put this matter into the hands of someone who is properly qualified to make these decisions and withdraw your involvement immediately.
Noted.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All right, I find this matter closed for right now. Any further discussion? We'll move downstairs back and continue with the regular meeting. That's all right. Oh, did you want to? No, no. Okay.
If I could, just for one.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I'd just like to say that, like, I know my dog, I ran into Darren's dogs at the dog park before, and I was interacting with my dog, it was never an issue, okay? But the fault here, as far as I'm concerned, lies entirely with Darren for not keeping him in his yard. Like, there's no reason you cannot put a lead on a dog that's strong enough to keep your dog in your yard. So, however this decision goes, it's not the dog's fault. It's his.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
And I would gladly, if you guys wanted, like, I'm not an expert dog trainer or a dog assessor, but if you guys are willing to let Darren keep them for a couple more weeks and allow me a chance to go and walk with them a couple hours a day maybe, just take them out and see how they interact, I love that opportunity because I hate to see the dogs put down, but I would gladly help out if I could. Okay?
Thank you.
I want to talk about mental health or mental. I just wanted to say that, like, in my opinion, we do owe it to Twitter. Although the presentation was slightly disordered, we do owe a duty of care. If somebody has a mental health, we do owe a duty of care and to provide accommodations to make sure there is a full understanding of the situation so that there isn't a brick wall that somebody that needed some help that didn't have to run into.
Yeah.
And if there was an advocate or something, like, and I wanted to say that, I'll say it separately, is that sometimes you just need an advocate to come and present on your behalf. Sometimes you need an advocate to listen on your behalf as well. And I don't think that, I think there's two separate issues, right? There's the dogs and then there's the mental health.
Right, that's well said.
All right. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
Can I speak? I'm really torn in this situation. I consider Darren a friend, and that mental health issue is a huge issue, and I know that he's really very attached to his dogs. And I fear for his personal safety if the dogs are put down. And I don't know what Municipal would do with that. There's been a lot of hate going around, and I know that the dogs were not where they were supposed to be. And I know that he's been trying to get a secure enclosure for them, as he mentioned. But I also know other dogs who have destroyed chickens and pigs and whatever. And they haven't gone on to do more damage to other places. However, those situations, it was on farms where it was their own farmyard animals that were affected. And I just, this roaming is a problem, but I think he is trying to address it. And I don't know. And mental health issue, although it's separate issues, it does come together.
Thank you.
Maybe not registered, but
Yeah.
he does depend on it.
Okay.
There's a lot of depending on dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been there for the last 6.5 years if I had that one one day.
Yeah. No, it's a matter of
Definitely taking into effect on their decision.
Councils are responsible for all public safety, though, not just
Yeah.
one individual. That's
Right.
unfortunately what councils have to consider is
Oh, I know, yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, like it's not the first issue that they've had with the dogs.
It's a tough job some days, but.
Yeah, it's not the first issue, so, yeah. I believe Darren had a warning from the municipality before about them being euthanized if it happened again.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, it's pretty easy to keep your dog in the yard if you take a few steps to make sure they can't get out. But,
All right, we'll move down and finish off the regular meeting. Thank you all so much for coming. So we gotta go in camera to discuss about this. Okay, in accordance with section 152, bracket 3 of the council, of the municipal act, the rural municipality of Rosedale, we now move into camera to discuss legal and personal matters at the time beginning 2:10. And further be resolved that in accordance with section 83, bracket 1, bracket B of the municipal act, any issues that are discussed are kept confidential until discussed at the regular meeting of council. Do I have a mover? Earl. Burden, seconder. So, all in favor? Carried. Okay.
Back to the cameras, good.
Resolution. The Army of Rosedale extends the impoundment of Sharon paychecks. There should be dogs here. Dogs. Until further notice pending investigation. Do I have a mover? Moved. Burden. Second. Robert Scott. All in favor? Carried. All right. Hospital. We'll go put that on the table. Calwood and Area Lions Club requests support for the Andy Auction Memorial Show and Shine. Andy Coin?
Yeah.
Coin.
Yeah.
Okay, show and shine. Your territory, you tell us.
No, I'm not sure what the letter says, but I know they do a good thing, they put a fence on there during the fair, and it's, give prizes away and all kinds of cool stuff.
We would appreciate any donation that you are able to give, or donate a prize.
To do what we did last year.
I
Or
don't
maybe,
think
no,
we did
pre-COVID,
last year.
I guess it'd be pre-COVID.
Well, they had it last year, didn't they? I was there last year. I thought it was not the one up there. Yeah, the show and shiner?
Right on the main street? Yeah, that'll be the same one. So,
Yeah, I don't know if that's
sure. I'm not, okay.
I couldn't find anything from last year.
My son wanted the Chinese auction.
You do what we did do. You do know what we give them the first year?
Doesn't say here.
Do we have any swag that we can donate for stuff like this, or do we not have that kind of stuff?
Not yet.
See, yeah, he could just come, you know, out of his fees could just donate $100 or whatever.
Well, if we can, we got one of those card kits or whatever, you know, show and show. Yeah, those at the co-op or wherever, you can go pick up like the whole kit.
Yeah. I'm a cash guy.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see a couple of $300, I would do that by myself, if that would help. $300, if you guys wanna help, we'll just divide that by whatever. How's that?
yes, we all split the $300.
If that's, you're comfortable, that's, because I don't know if that's enough or not, we'll start there. So.
50 bucks each.
If we say put numbers on there, gives you an idea where to work from.
Yeah. Well, I think they're just wanting anything that,
Yeah.
because they want to have,
It draws people to Kelwood, and it's a big deal. I should have, I like cards, I don't work on them, but I like cards.
if they have it, I think most of it's all the Chinese auction anyways.
Yes, and they give you a
So
price.
that's where they make their,
So we'll get her $50 each then?
Yeah, that's good, that's perfect for you guys.
$50 each.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And I like the idea of getting a little bit of a tourism feel to Kelwood, like with all the different events and whatnot, just drawing people in there, it gets the, you know, keeps the gas station going, keeps the restaurants going, just kind of spread the tourism dollars out a little bit.
Yeah, but shortly before your time, Jeff, you used to have a sign at that corner that the Kelwood barn is now presently. It used to say Kelwood ain't dead yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and when we built the barn, they take the sign out because it was impeaching on highways property, but anyway, it was a sign that said that. There's pictures of that, so. More in the background.
Hey, moving resolution, the RMO Rosedale grants $300 from BOT funding, Ward 106, $50. Two Kelwood show and shine should be okay, right?
What's your town area lines go?
More Kelwood.
Oh, yeah. What if it would be more than $2?
Actually, Andy Coyne was a resident of Kelwood, long time, she had moved a car. They done it themselves, it was a long job back.
Okay.
And they did just in his honor, which is kind of cool, actually. Yeah. That's how this new patrol there.
I have a second, or mover, sorry.
I'll move it.
Dave Tyler, seconder? Sure. Are you sure? All in favor? Carried. Matthew Tolan.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
You're back here.
And so I'm sorry, I got back into town late last night, or late yesterday, so I didn't deal with this stuff. But, if everybody's read the letter, there's somebody in a minivan, approached us only doing metal detecting. I mean, I'm 99.9% sure I know who exactly it is, but I just didn't have a chance to go there and talk to him yesterday. I won't say names because I actually haven't talked to him yet, but the background on this one is that this person was doing basically nothing with a metal detector. And there was a bit of an overreaction because of the rumors that are going around in Franklin about the new trailer court that's going to be built. And there's lots of stuff that's happening in a tiny little town, so there's been a miscommunication, and then there's also an overreaction on this one. There's no signage, the guy was just looking for like nothing, right? He was just walking around the metal detector. So, the flip side is, in my entire life, I could never imagine writing a letter like this. So, different strokes, but it seems like it's a bit of an overreaction, but I haven't contacted him yet because I'm on the board and I was gonna contact him and just say, yeah, I'm sorry you went through this. But, because I'm also on the council, I didn't want to do that because it was too cloudy unless you guys want me to contact him directly and say that. Because it was completely an unnecessary situation, and it's just miscommunication, so it can be easily diffused. And I can diffuse it on both sides if you want me to. But otherwise, I'm just going to give it to the council, or the board of directors at the Franklin Hall, and say, you deal with it, and I'll recuse myself from it. just because of wearing two hats.
Is there basically some overreaction on both sides?
I would say so, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that, so. Do you think most people can be approachable and diffuse from your side of it?
I know that the 29% Dodge guy,
Yeah.
I know he can be diffused easily.
Yeah.
I haven't talked to the map.
Because the other guy, he's requesting an apology, and that might be a little tough.
And I don't have a problem making the apology on behalf of the Franklin Memorial Hall. I don't, as long as you guys don't think that's a conflict of interest with being a counselor as well.
I would like you just go ahead and get it diffused.
Just,
Yeah.
if you
Put the fire out.
Yeah, it's just that.
We give you the rights to that.
I would call him.
Is that better?
Yeah, I do, because Colleen had sent it to me when I was still in football, so
We give Carl, we gave Jeff the rights to be able to.
Right on all situation.
But I'll do it on behalf of Franklin Hall.
Yeah, no, that's pretty good. As long as the fire goes up, it's okay.
All right, y'all in the committee, okay? Okay, what was that all? Oh, yeah.
Not mystery.
They're just asking for a donation. They put a dollar figure there between all municipalities and everything, but it's pretty high, right? What, $8 grand?
Oh.
Yeah, but they've also listed in, Lansdowne, North Sprague, all that, so they're asking all the municipalities in the town for, a donation, if you want to call it. Best way to put it.
But they're asking this 3,000.
Well, no, they didn't ask for a specific amount.
Oh, sorry, okay.
They're just telling you what the max dollar amount is. Like, it's $8,000 overage, so we're asking everybody to, pull in their pocket and donate what they can, I think, if I read that correctly.
I think they did this exact same thing last year.
Yes, we've done it for a few years.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do give them,
25.
when, yeah, so in October, is it? But they always give this other one out.
Yeah, we did give them money in October.
Yeah, I'm sure that's,
Yeah.
this is an extra. I think one time it was to fix the washing.
Yes, that's right. We're making a wheelchair accessible.
Yeah, there's that one too.
Yeah.
There's a few of them.
Yeah.
Franklin Hall doesn't ask.
Just
saying.
You're saying it could happen.
So now we're just passing that, we gave them in October, right? Okay, they did that, that's fine with everybody else. Well, the Kelwood Legion,
Oh, again.
Oh, so are you guys to show up more often, or? It's far. It's way far, yeah.
Houses are cheaper, though. We might have to go that far.
Yeah.
I think we ran.
Working trip.
Yeah.
Sure.
We run short here now, we got money.
Well, I thought that said, it doesn't say you side adjournment, but at least it's behind this.
It's me.
Okay, so they just more or less looking for a donation. And they don't have a specific amount in here, so.
And I spoke with, she's the secretary there, actually, but it's anything, but even it's just, COVID business, the whole thing, so. We helped them before.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they take a big number, but I mean, it depends on whatever, so.
Can the town support the Legion anymore?
Well, I think it's tough, honestly, anything alcohol based is tough, honestly, I mean, that's my personal opinion, I guess.
All these smaller communities and businesses and community centers and groups are gonna be struggling forever.
Well, the Legion runs under a little different set of rules than an average bar, and I won't get into that, but they just can't do what every bar can do to run a business, they have rules of their own, it was built for a different reason, the Legion itself was built for that reason, a place for them to go, and now we're trying to keep it open.
So what did we donate each last year?
I don't remember, I don't
It was
know.
quite a chunk, you know?
Yeah.
I give $1,500 on mine.
I think it was $1,500 in total, wasn't it, last year?
You guys are just to remember, I don't.
Like I said, I'd give a couple hundred out of mine. Doesn't bother me.
Because they had trouble with the cooler, if I remember right, was that the donation we did last time?
I think the cooler had having issues with it or something.
Did that
We
make
don't
sure?
need it.
Yeah, because I know they quit when we shut it off through COVID, and then when they fired it back up, they didn't.
In one horse, didn't want fire.
Yeah, it didn't want, so, but
Two for mine and two from everybody if they want, but
Because I think, well, going forward, there might be more, there could be more, but I mean, the fair is coming and those things will all help. I mean, this COVID hurt everyone, right? And it's a long time to recover.
So what do you think it's?
I'm afraid to say a number, so.
Well, actually, Ernie's put a number out there.
Okay, well, let's run with that for a bit. What did you say you're concerned?
I said, I'd give 2 out of mine, no problem.
Okay.
How much?
$200.
200?
So if we went all around the table that way.
More generous, that's what.
That's
You
it.
thought more?
It is our only bar
Give- give them
in the
$400.
RS.
No, but it's, yeah, I'm trying to match what you say.
What do you think, Robert? What do you think?
Well, that camera's running.
She'll delete this part of the after nice.
That's my thought. The last few years, we gave him a few $1,000. I thought it was later in the year than August.
Near the end, I think you're right. Do you wanna wait
You
for a
well,
while?
you know what I'd like to see?
Okay,
You do some homework and find out what we did before.
okay.
Can they
Oh,
wait
no.
till next meeting?
I would think, I mean, it's not closed the doors today, but it'd be nice, like, if they're gonna,
Okay, so when is that?
the fair is the 19th, so we're ahead of that, so.
Yeah.
So what about if we give so much now and then you do your homework and then we top it up later?
If you guys are comfortable, that's
You want to do 2 for each group right now?
okay.
I don't mind whatever they get.
That's a good idea too, actually. I think that's-
Yeah, we gotta keep them going.
It gives them something if they're getting ready for the fair, gives them something ready for
We gotta
fair.
keep going.
Gives them some cushion. I would like to make a suggestion, if you're gonna do some digging there.
Yep,
Is that these are the types of buildings that would benefit greatly from having a community energy advocate, tapping into the energy efficiency programs in Manitoba Hydro, the Efficiency Manitoba, this new one that came out, the Greener Building Infrastructure Fund. The feds are desperate to give money away to do deep retrofits to buildings so that they'll be sustainable, right? Because if you can get rid of your utility bill by selling hydro back into the grid, that's a huge thing for a small club, right? And if you can super insulate and then cut your utility bills by selling the power, like you get ahead. And also these guys are all facing, I know a lot of people here don't like to talk about it, but the electrification, like having to get car chargers, they can't afford to. And the only way that place is ever going to do it is if we help them get some grants in there and do that as almost like a measure of support for that building and for that club, not club.
no, I know you meant, that's fine, yeah. So you could have information of that you can give me going forward, like an address or an email or a phone
Yes.
number?
That one email we got today.
I didn't get those.
Okay.
For whatever reason,
And I have the
so-
previous ones as well. But it's like, it's the kind of thing that a small club, like when you start doing the red screen software, for example, to do the energy modeling, it's not simple. And most community clubs just don't have the resources. But if you get one person with that's a red screen person, they can do it in the morning, they can do the building, and then in the afternoon, they can do this one. They can just power through every building in the whole RM and just have that as a stockpile. And say, here you go. And there's money available to hire people like that. And that's where that community energy advocacy comes in. It's like, it's a chance for small groups to harness some collective purchasing power and get some expert, because that's just one step of it, right? But all those programs need the energy modeling. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? And then how close did you get there?
Is it something, okay, thanks, and I'll get that information to go when I go, but it's, I know lots of committees get stalled out, they're just trying to keep the door open, they can only see this, so that may be an extra shot there.
And if the VLT funds come in, because the province will fund 80% of that position. So if you hire a term person and you're in 20%, then you can use your VLT funds to kind of finance that. And then that person is like doing good work for every community club. And then every physical building in the RM can get done. And then it's just a stockpile of information.
Okay.
And I think it's something, it's a big project, but it would help these guys. Like, I know they need immediate cash, but in 10 years' time, this would really pay off. Which is starting now to work towards it.
Okay, thanks for that.
So you guys are looking at 200 each?
Thanks. I hate the word homework, just so you all know.
Yeah, well,
I got
I gave up that
12 or
job.
15 teachers that were tested.
thought I gave that up.
The RM Rosedale grant, the Kelwood Legion number 50, $1,200 from DLT funding from Ward 1 to 6, $200 each. Do I have a mover? Carol Burton, second. Marvin Scott. All in favor? Carried.
Meeting adjourned.
That says new business or anything.
Well, we already went through all that. We did all those ones.
Most of it.
Most of it.
Yeah.
One goes to the subtree.
Just got the stuff I haven't brought up yet.
Just a subject.
Just a simple yes from you is all we need on this.
No.
Yeah, I didn't have anything for new business or something.
Is there anything for new business?
We just talked about road 99, of course, and we still have, I guess, on that truck, and I don't want to be that bad about that, but we're gonna put the kibosh on that truck for now, so we get it fixed, right? Until we do something else with it, like, there's no sense finding more money, right?
That's my thoughts.
Yeah. Okay, so then we'll get a hold of whoever and say, just hang on to it until further notice.
But in the same process, we should.
And we'll do some shopping in the meantime. Okay.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the unfinished business.
I got two business things that we.
No business asked.
Okay.
Go on, so.
I have a request for a small person, request for a culvert extension on Road 110. And it's on 87 coming on 110. So just bigger farmers moving in, just need another 12 or 20 feet, whatever to get in and out of the subs.
Okay.
Small culvert, I guesstimated 18 inches, which is probably 24, but it's a small culvert, it's the same.
Sure.
Okay, that's okay.
Doesn't say any of them.
I do. The other was just notes that I made from. But the big one is it was asked by the Kenwood skating rink president about where we're at with the septic tank for the rink itself. So I talked to Colin, of course, the other day, and then I went and got a price on a septic tank. They're calling it, it's a holding tank. Holding septic tank, which is a different, I guess, 2,000 gallon. And it has to be deep barrel because where the footings are in the building, just because of the tower or something, I don't understand. But the tank and a bit of pipe to put it in is somewhere in the range between 14 and 15,000. Locally, the local backhoe operator guy there will install for nothing. And the plumber that I spoke to is Daryl Ronson from Curry, and he'll do any labor required hooking the tank up for nothing. And all we need donated is a loader to a sand to do the install. But we need approval from you guys or whatever to buy the tank. And what's it?
It's coming out of that, right?
It's come out of the rink grant thing, and it's so, but I mean, we still need to approve it, so that's what we do. And the tank is available in Dauphin right now. And, but he did price out a tank at EA, if that means anything to anybody. And they month, 6 weeks away, and they would like to be able to use the washrooms for the fair.
Yeah.
So that's why not a rush per se, but a quick ask.
For the example, if we're using the grant money, we have to provide 3 tenders. And so we need kind of written.
Okay, I mean, Daryl will give us a written quote on his parts. I mean, I can give you it's my business doing the install.
Yeah.
So I would give you a 0 quote on the install.
For the tank.
We need 3, okay, okay?
You got 2, so, did you?
Well, they all got the same, 2 though, 2 separate prices, so I mean, can you get 2 quotes from the same plumber? Because I mean, we've got other plumbers that will help, but I mean, Daryl's often doing the work for others, so I mean.
There's 2 different companies, so.
The VA is one price, and then Sammy's and Dauphin is the one that has it in stock, so that's.
You guys got one, Brandon or whatever, then.
Okay, we can do that, I mean, that's not an issue, because Daryl did just kind of on the seat of his pants.
Kara had mentioned a couple meetings ago about not using the facility for, there was insurance or grant issues.
And I think the president of the skating rink committee at present, he's also the right-hand man of the general contractor. So he'll know, we have to get the occupancy for those, thank you. So it must be closed or he wouldn't be asking. Okay, that's
Well,
that's all I can
it's
say.
just the bathrooms, because you can access the bathrooms outside. them.
Yes, it's separately, yes.
They're outside access, so you don't have to go in the rest of the building, so.
Thanks for that, see, right, there's 2 doors on each side.
That's why I think we could use the bathroom, but we could use the rink.
Right.
It's not
Yeah.
finished.
Because he's checking on, I asked him, I didn't think of that question, but he's asked, or finding out where the status of getting hot water or cold water for the washrooms is, so.
Yeah.
He's checking it closer. Yeah, I mean, we've done some work, the work's been going on since this council started, just because it's previously passed, whatever, electricals and plumbing.
Yes. I don't see nothing wrong with that, like you say, get one more, out of Brandon or whatever.
So can we get a resolution to say we go ahead and draw a couple more quotes? Because that way Daryl can order this tank or put it on hold and we'll lose it. So that's, I guess I need that from you guys.
So a resolution saying that you'll purchase the tank based on the tendering process, and then that,
Yeah.
because it's basically free installation on all of your sides.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a little bit.
Yeah, just in this case, Paul French gets to see this video later, we're trying to con him into giving us the sand. He's our local sand and gravel company, so we'll try to sweet talk him into that.
So talking to the camera.
Paul can hear me.
Knows the voice.
And I'm gonna see him later in fire meeting, so I'll get him again.
Well, Colleen's writing that out, so the question is now with this road over there, what do I say? With that, Cam asked me about that. There's a lot to do there, like there's a, they're trying to push there to do.
That's actually called a creek plumbing.
I think that's a plunked in the lap of the CAO in the Public Works before a review and a budget.
Well, he was just wondering an answer, and so I don't know that you might want to get a hold of him.
Where is this road?
It's Road 87,
Yep.
and his name's Cam Tibbet. I think I have his number in my phone, if I'm not mistaken.
I think we just put it under review for now, instead of getting an answer.
Yeah, well, that's, you know,
Unfortunately, in case I know it's passing the buck a little bit.
he wants to get going
Yeah, I know.
sooner than later. Oh, yeah, he said he's gonna go ahead without it, he said, I'll just cut what's mine, he says, and the rest can stand there, if it falls on my fence, you guys fix it. I'm like, oh my God. Huh?
You can add Cliff Minkus on there too.
I don't know what he's got.
He wants a separate battle done.
I can't see.
Old fence line, and there's several not taken out, it's the same style of project. And he's been requesting it for a few years. Yeah, he reminded me again this year that it's a snow collection issue for the RM and a cattle access issue for him. And he just thinks that that road should be widened, the brush taken out and the old fence line taken out.
How do you spell this?
MINKUS. So that's two separate things. They're going to be separate properties.
It's 87 West.
I'm trying to.
Canton.
Yeah, it's 841 306.
Okay, resolution, the RM of Rosedale purchase of 2,000 gallon septic tank.
Mechanical.
That's a-
This one is,
This one is like.
Oh, and mechanical miscellaneous pipe.
it's done.
Based on the quote from the Prairie Planning and Plumbing and Electrical.
Well, if you ever get over, you know, any criticism, right, me and your printing, I think rather read my writing. I'll second it.
All in favor? Carried. So is that it for new business?
I would think.
Go ahead.
My daughters like to camp. Neither one of them had any clue that there was a campground at Kerrs Lake or at Big Valley. Thank you. And I was just realizing as I was driving south from Honolulu the other day, there's that, they also didn't know about turning on Mountain Road. Buddies of mine who were coming to visit didn't know about turning on the Mountain Road. And that beautiful new highway really needs a sign on number 10 going both ways, saying with a big Rosedale sign, I think, saying, you know, this many kilometers to Kerrs Lake, or scenic outlook this way, or, you know, this way to the Kelwood Fair, you know, one of those regional signs, because that's going to turn into a high traffic area. We've lost this summer, of course, and I don't even know if it has been done before, or if it's possible. I don't know what the rules are about putting up signs like that. But I just think that something should be done to draw attention to the fact that just a little ways out there are some really cool places to camp.
You need to start soon, because the putting a sign on the highway is tricky business.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we did that with the barn advertising and stuff.
Landowner. Yeah, talk to the landowner.
Well, even then.
Or that right, the other thing that they say, keep that right.
Like, I agree with it, but we need to get the process started to get it up next year. You know, it takes a long time.
And it doesn't even if those standard highway signs, you know, 37 kilometers.
No.
Even if it's not on that, but there should be something there, I think.
Non-stop
It's
traffic.
pretty nice.
And I was there 20 minutes, I bet you there was 7 or 8 vehicles.
Really?
And I went down to the campground area and everything was filled right up.
Oh, really?
It's been very busy down there.
Yeah.
All that people put down there for Sunday, picnic, everything. So it's been busy down there, and the public works has been doing a thumbs up job keeping it maintained.
Good.
They go there every Monday morning or after a long weekend and do the trash right after a weekend.
Your grass,
And they've been mowing it. It doesn't grow great down there anyways, right? But they do it, I'll say once every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Green team's doing a good job.
No complaints. No complaints.
That's awesome, the guys, young guys. Yeah.
And I don't know what anybody's seen, but the size of the roads with the mower, I give 2 thumbs up to Cody the other day. He's doing a great job.
I heard he's back a few years and he's
making a beautiful job.
Yeah, I just,
Yeah.
I think it's
I
that
see one
simple.
today, but I didn't see one in the
He's got those blades, behind that script, it doesn't matter what he does. Or if it flexes at all.
It's flexing part
Yeah.
is where that strip is always gonna be,
He
so
does
I
it.
wouldn't worry about that.
I told him he's not cutting a golf course.
Exactly.
No,
No,
he's knocking down grass.
Yeah.
no. And he's making some miles, for sure.
Yeah, he's going lots of ground. He's
Like, I heard he's back a couple of years and he's done at his speed
Yeah.
where he can maneuver it and he's really making ground because he's not broke down.
Yeah. There's one break out, no,
Yeah,
he
so
just
that's
mowed it.
good. I heard that.
There's lots to be said, so.
That's good, perfect.
One year less, we got our own.
So I gave him a pat on the back the other day, so.
Oh, no, I don't blame you.
Okay, moving forward.
I heard good things.
Got one thing to confirm.
Okay.
You mentioned extensions, I got a couple approach extensions too. One requires a culvert, one's just dirt or gravel, whatever. Same reason, just bigger equipment, trailers. So,
Is it your driveway lot?
no. Not even close. One year. Just saying.
But, so that, I guess for clarification, just ask Colin to go through the public works to do the, or.
Nothing else.
just to widen them up,
Yeah, just they just bring a piece apart and do the, whatever they do. Okay.
And I did talk to Colleen about the Trans Canada Trail thing, with that culvert we're supposed to put in. So I talked to Colleen and Colleen said, gave me Mike's number, that Mike's been running a cat in the back. I told him, he met me over there, told him we're just gonna use the use pipe and to fit it in, push off to both sides. So he knows exactly, he said whenever he's got a moment, he's gonna go swing over. He said he's not gonna make it a big rush to get there, but he's gonna get it there. So I said, right on, you get there, you get there.
And one of the tidbit of information, east of Bernie, the second bit beside Elton Birches there, the brush is rolling into the road area. So we got public works go there with the hoe and they just pushed it down into the creek area for now, just so there's not a blank spot, because it's a nasty spot. But coming this fall, I'm gonna ask for a request that we get a brusher in there and knock it right back.
I got it with 12 miles.
What was that?
That's the PR roads you have to touch to.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but we did.
Yes, I have the so we should.
Work together with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Keep
I've
them
got
on farm.
a ton of complaints and there was a whole bunch of other information came along and went up to the board and all that stuff, but whatever. So, but at least it was safety is what it was.
You got the job opened up.
It's good. Yeah. Visibility was bad.
Because it was done a few years ago, the road goes back.
Well,
So it's not,
yeah.
so.
not tree down and brush it, it's gonna grow twice as fast. So, I'm good.
Ready to go to unfinished business now?
No, I got one more thing.
I've got a culvert extension due too.
Okay.
Down by Wilbert Loans on Route 90.
Yeah.
We gotta get the beavers out of there first, stop the water coming.
I saw there was a whole bunch of beavers in there.
Yeah, so we were down there the other day, that's a real swamp in that
It's a
place.
jungle.
Yeah, I was thinking about fixing that crossing by Tim Weeps. I brought it up last time, about putting that rock in there. How do you get prices on something like that? What would you just ask 2 or 3 different companies how much they want an hour for their excavator? Like I have no idea how long it will take to dig out this piece, dig it out and then dump rock in.
You can show 2 or 3 companies the job and give them the quote the job they see.
Tell them what you want.
Yeah, tell them what you want, that's what I would
Do that.
Just get Joe Blow company come there and have a look and say, hey, what would you charge Rosedale to do this job? And then get a couple of them and go from there, on the whole job.
It involves delivering rock to the site. So I guess that would be
Part of the job.
part and parcel of the.
Part of the job. Yeah, I think we got that gravel.
I'll see if I can get that done, because that tower's going.
Ronnie gets it screened. Yeah, we got that big rock. We got that gravel done, that 8,000.
That gravel's long.
We have some big stuff too, you mentioned, remember?
Yeah.
Any big rock too, right?
Yeah, I didn't phone that guy yet, because if he'll let us have it, it'll be a miracle if he does, but it's a mile away,
It's close to.
so I'll try and get a price and
Yep.
And then we just got a concern about the gravel crushing is supposed to be taking place in Eden sometime, but Eden shortly or in the near future, I don't know.
Near
what-
future, I'll put it that way, I'm gonna chat them up today, so.
How much did we decide we're doing? The number 10?
Immediately?
Yeah.
I thought we were doing 10. I thought-
10.
didn't we?
Yeah, we're at 10 on the top.
There's none left.
Nothing left.
Yeah, we always
So
do
should
10
we do,
and
that, that's, I
10 or
don't,
15 or something.
For 10 or 15.
that's what I want.
That's a gravel pile drop, sorry.
Yeah, no,
Fifteen.
you should have 15, there's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
I know, but if we ever had a problem, we don't have any reserves.
Exactly.
So maybe if he'll split the cost, maybe we should do 15 or maybe a little bit more, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't wanna be the guy that sticks the number up there and then somebody says, oh, how are we gonna pay for it? Right?
Well, it's gonna be one of those things, it's gonna be hard.
It'll never go bad.
No.
And you know, and then it won't get cheaper.
Daryl's always been good with us, so
It's the next
they'll
one.
split it. I can't say that, he's always been really good, so.
So Ronnie's gonna work on that, I guess.
If they'll split it, then yeah.
No, I'm not sure he always.
Well,
He's
then,
always-
yeah, I mean, gravel will never go bad, it must go bad in piles.
Well, they have the reserve is great. Or something reserve is there is good.
Either that or he's coming back next year after.
Yeah. You'd rather do it
Oh,
than
yeah, yeah.
Well, it'll only be higher next year.
Yeah, that's the thing, it's only gonna get
That's it,
higher.
isn't it? Good point.
I was talking to a guy from Paulette's and he was saying like, everybody is behind. I said, we were supposed to have this crushing done. And they're gonna be hauling onto that pit till Christmas time.
Oh, yeah.
But there's some, like, they didn't bid in the job. Colette got the job, but Colette's not gonna do the trucking. It's gonna be a concern to get the right guys going to the right place. Cause I know, I told him about no shortcutting coming back on that off 265 East.
Okay, okay.
Cause I know we had that experience before. It shut down a mile or two sooner and go cross country.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Not, we're not gonna allow that this year. But he's weighing everything at the beginnings.
Everything.
She's coming out,
So,
going across the
we
scale,
got a
back
deal,
on
he's going up, he's gonna bring, dust control, do dust control for us. and
Good.
Hopefully it's all good.
Yeah. We'll hear about it if it isn't.
It is.
We'll hear about it if it isn't.
I know, that's the thing. He's seen it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I was gonna say it's even measure, but I just assumed yours.
Either good, yes.
Okay?
When'd you have a calling?
Whatever, like, we're good to go when he shows up.
Yeah, well, so we can get,
That's
Monday morning, because he might be just shooting in there,
Oh, for drilling into the fire hall?
No,
Oh.
to, Murray Martins. They want a new water line.
Only want a
They
water line for
requested.
them?
Oh, okay.
Extension off of it.
So, we only got one tender. And that's,
Rob Smith and Son,
right.
for $18,926.72.
So 15 sounds like a deal in comparison.
Well, see, that's why this, yeah. we're-
This is, like, 11.
But did we get the water into the fire hall yet? You asked.
I don't know.
Is it complete? Because that's the same
Never
company
came
that,
back.
that's the same company that hasn't finished that yet, so.
Did we not set a fine if it wasn't done?
Yeah.
We did.
I think the biggest problem is there, nobody knows what that water line is, right? That hasn't been located yet.
he located it.
That's my
I
understanding.
thought you located
I
it in
don't
the middle
think
of
they
the
were in
road.
the right spot.
No, it's never been located.
Because the highway, so it hasn't been located. Highways have changed.
Sure, I can do that, sure.
That sounds like
Yeah, but they went further back to the west.
There's one in
I don't
the-
think he
one in the-
dug back there for the west.
They just still have.
Like the, I don't know, it sounds like everybody just gave up.
So we're trying to get.
Moved on.
that
Water
for
lines
fire
in the
trucks.
road, I think, once you
We
get down
agreed to
there
find them.
by the next door.
But yeah, but I thought that was further west, where, okay, the one
I think we got
that
far enough west.
Yeah,
I know what it is, I remember seeing it. Vividly
It
remember
was
seeing
substantial.
it.
it was big.
But it's never.
Your uncle was right
If you
in
fall
the-
through it, it's a free job.
Your uncle?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
And then plant,
Yeah.
On that old.
There's that big event they finished, yes.
So.
Yeah.
Jim is working hard on.
We're gonna assess this tender.
Well, I think we better get clarification about the fire hall job first before we give them another job, in my opinion.
Go through the highway.
If we can do that.
That's, if they're.
We can.
You go get me all they building there.
No.
He's done all the other jobs for him.
I don't know why.
They would have been.
The house is already there.
It was straighter before, and then just-
So we can garnish it
at the end.
You hit the highway on an angle,
Yes.
right, it's on 90, eh?
Correct.
Maybe.
So,
Yeah, maybe.
If you want to have big things there, you don't put in a quote, but you have to dig through our road and trench.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, no, I understand your point, just going is, why would they finish this job if they didn't finish the fire hall job?
It's a straightforward job, not one that's difficult now. Yeah.
No, they made, no, it's not, they made it difficult for
Yeah.
the wrong reason, because
Yeah.
you can take two witching wires and find that pipe in 20 minutes.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
But I mean, yes, I don't want to begrudge these folks of their water, it's over gambling, but I mean, I guess we better accept the vote with condition it's done by when, Tuesday? Because, otherwise, we've been waiting a year now for the fire hall.
Exactly.
right.
So we gotta, I mean, I expect the tender, there's nobody else tendered it, but we have to put a very stiff timeline on that tender,
So it gets done.
so it gets done, that's my.
well, he'll get in. Just the guy in that yard will be sure.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's gotta be
So
there.
should we put a date? Eh?
We can.
Because I think he was.
Kind of guesstimate might could be the end of August.
For this job.
Right. They might do it sooner, but he won't,
Okay.
because they're moving equipment,
Mm.
so his house,
Yeah, just
just.
I don't know,
Neighbor.
No, and I'm not trying to be difficult, it's just that we got a fire hall that hasn't been done by the same company, and it's a pretty simple
But you gotta get the
process.
date.
as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned.
Oh, yeah, you gotta have a date
You
on
gotta
it.
give them a date out here, I mean,
Yeah.
I work, and I should say.
Give him a date.
Yeah, look at it like,
I don't know any,
what is the,
what's he saying? They're on there, anything?
what does it say on
He
the,
can tell you.
It doesn't
I'll send that out.
It doesn't give a deadline, but he said they're moving equipment, they might not be back here until end of August, so.
See, and I think, I'm with Earl on this one, I think we should put a firm date on it or cancel the tender and
Yeah.
and reissue it with a date, a deadline on it.
Yeah.
Because
Well, I mean, if we have to trench across the road, there's ways to back the road back down to make it right. If that's, if the other companies, the beauty of that company is they have a directional mower. But I mean, we've been back on across roads for hundreds of years.
He has to trench all the way into that.
No, for sure, and I understand that. But it's just, I mean, it's the other, these other guys don't quote these jobs because of our municipal roads, probably. But I mean, we can do it. We can do that, just reback it when you go back down. So, what I mean,
It's a fair time, September 15th or what?
We have a list of contractors.
to do this work.
Yeah, and it's a real issue, like we're helping that problem because there's,
He's got projects open all over the place.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying put a deadline.
because this is why.
Okay, 14 minutes.
Like to me, obviously, this is deadline.
Well, Prairie, for Eagle Eye out of Portage, Eagle Eye excavation did the water to the barn. They got it, and it was all directional water. I couldn't answer that question, honestly. I don't know, we don't.
He's got two, he's just gonna small one, but there.
Fairly rich.
Yeah.
He's got some, but I don't know if
He's
he's
just
got
left the small one.
Yeah, I know Eagle Eye did the one in town's all I know, but that's the other Portage part of it, or Eli, actually, Eli. But I mean, they didn't quote the job, which
Yeah.
ties our hands, but I mean, I just want a deadline on that job.
You were here August 1st, August 15th.
Yeah, but that's our next meeting, is right? We'll have it then.
Yes, be done by then.
I'm fine with that.
11th, August 11th. Next, he's
Oh, so make that the deadline?
No, I don't know where, August 15th.
I'm okay with it.
For our meeting.
Some deadline, so we get a reference point to start with.
So.
I would make the motion on, I would accept the tender as presented with the addition of a deadline of August.
Whatever our meeting, what's our meeting, 11th, August what?
August.
So it has to be completed before August 11th.
I'm okay with that, part of that tender to read that, so.
And then anything after subject to whatever amount?
Fines we come up.
Yeah.
What did we, excuse me, the fine before was what, 500?
500 a day.
500 a day or something?
Which is quite a while ago, yeah.
Yeah, it was 60 days ago.
I mean, yeah, all of that, yes.
And we just kind of,
And then we get,
And we got set off, forgot about.
because we let it go so long, now we'll forgive it because we didn't enforce it.
yeah.
Words it, right. Okay, so unless you want,
Just for something like a free link coming in.
If we can do that legally and properly,
can it? Just put a deadline underneath.
date to be complete, or work to be completed by August 11th.
Because it's a 2-day draw, I'm thinking.
You probably, 2, 1.
Really?
500 feet.
They measured it.
That may be a little longer. Maybe it's 800 feet. From
Probably wasn't on
the side there, but it comes from the other side of the road, say 8,000 feet.
So accept it, and then if we inform them they've been good, then they can maybe say.
It's right there, you can see Murray's driving,
Yeah.
straight down, and
Nobody starts
there's
seeing that.
houses right here.
Yeah.
Because I want to support.
So they
because
come
they're
around
not
the
getting it.
front of the
They're not-
road,
they're not getting
same
it
way?
also.
Or they come across his pump house?
No, that's the way they said,
Going this way.
unless they're calling
Going this way, it's just
from,
This is up right off the main line.
August
So I
11th?
think they're going straight in right from the main line, like they did right straight in from the main.
You're not gonna plan it off?
to avoid any penalties or whatever you want to
So
say.
I don't think from here.
Really?
Because all the lines, smaller line, they ain't going
Hey.
anywhere.
Wouldn't it be an inch and a half or 2 inch?
And we should bring the water on fire all there.
That's where it is.
Yeah.
Line,
That's it? Why not?
we ran inch line into
You would?
everywhere. Then we run 1 inch line into everywhere.
1 inch, I flag that. Oh, I got figured. Restriction in that copper deal, you know, it's got your backup valve and stuff. There's a restrictor. And you're not supposed to measure.
That's so big with a-
It's us.
I don't have one. I don't have it.
I think it's 1 inch and a quarter.
I knew it was an inch or inch and a little bit.
I don't know whether that wrench.
Whereas the municipality of Rosedale requests the tender,
Where would they go, Brandon?
request for the tender for the rural
installation of Southeast 6-15-15 West. Whereas one's submission was received on the prior to the deadline of July 12, 2023, and whereas the results are as follow. Bidder Rob Smith and Sons Backhoe Trucking, price $18,926.72. Therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Island of Rosedale agrees to accept this tender, work to be completed by August 11, 2023, to avoid any penalties. Do I have a mover? Robert Scott.
Second.
Ron Costigan. All in favor? Carried.
She should be a card dealer.
Okay, is there anybody that wants to mention anything before I close the meeting, or?
There we. Or no, did we finish the Kelly utility one? Because we did the Eden utility one.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, good. I don't imagine, because I was kidding.
We all woke Cal today.
I know. You guys are figuring it out.
Took all our money.
Okay, well, with that, we do now adjourn the regular meeting at
3:50.
Yeah, meet again for our regular meeting on August 11th.
I'm gonna go over the parents.
At 10 a.m.
Don't get lost me.
Dave Tedrock, all in favor, carried. Okay, after the meeting, we reopen our council meeting at 10:53 p.m. Do we have a mover?
I'll follow this up.
Earl Burton, seconder, Robert Scott. Okay, all in favor, carried.
So I guess we don't, well, we do need every vote, but I mean, it's just, it's pretty cut and dry what we're doing.
Okay, I need a resolution.
Yeah, rushing over the donuts too. Because we need actually kind of two.
Sure.
One to accept the hauling from Mr. Russell.
Oh.
Accept being Mrs. Mr. and Mrs. One for the bill. Here.
We paid $1.50 in the material.
Yeah.
And we paid five what for trucking?
Five running notes for trucking.
52, yeah, 52.50 for the trucking.
Yeah, that's a GST.
Loading and trucking.
Loading and trucking.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 25,000 to get the GST that.
Oh, yeah, GST, I need to say, GST, yes, you're right, yes.
Get a quote from somebody for around that $7. We're gonna need some.
Our rules to accept.
But we don't need it right now, and if she'll agree to it, we can put shingles, and that's what she recommended.
Okay.
And then we can,
Shingles at Eden or shingles at Kelwood?
no, any,
Okay, because I have a trailer load of shingles, so I can take them there. That
you
what they
might be
accept?
able to come after Tuesday,
Okay.
but I can't promise it. And no construction waste is exempt. That's,
Just have shingles.
but you know, some people are so lazy, they back up to those bins, the lid's open on them, all you gotta do is take your bag of household garbage off your truck. And that's, somebody's bag must have split, so there's about 6 or 8 stinking diapers laying there. You know, like, how lazy can this, it's a really nice clean area, it's all gravel yard. Do you think if you drop something like that, you might
have the other one.
pick it up and put it in there?
I'll have to put some rain shovels there so that people can do that. Because then we'll still rain shovels, not my talking about.
Okay, the Arnold Rosedale accepts the price per yard of fill of $1.50 per yard times 1,000 yards for Sarah Warren. From Sarah Warren, sorry. Do I have a mover?
I'll move it.
Seconder?
You're all set.
Robert Scott. All in favor? Alright.
Whatever, yeah, you do that for just wait. But we need it, it's the, we have no.
He's only got a couple of them last time or something.
We bought 4 or 5 loads in and then it's gone, like Mike has pushed it, the garbage keeps coming, of course, it never, it's like an ongoing thing. And, yeah, I guess I told all.
Another big task.
Another thing I
have like pages and papers.
Is that a brand new notebook already? I told both or all contractors, sorry, that we would have our own bulldozer there to push it up into a pile, because I mean, that just seemed fair to me. For them, because if they'll have it in a pile, we'll push it up, I thought that'd be, so. Because it's been 2 years, right? Maybe 3, even since we bought fill for there, so it's, but it'll go quicker now because of the new household fill there, so.
No, I'll get this one. There are Rosedale accepts the estimate of Rempel Backhoe and Graveling Limited to haul fill for the road from John Bourne to the Elwood landfill for $5,250.
Load and haul.
Load and haul.
That's a thing that I ever.
Yeah, loading is anywhere from buck and a half an hour to
Per yard? Okay, per yard.
No, loading, just the loading.
Oh, per
Yeah,
yard.
Jeff, your turn.
What's it called? My turn. Sorry.
Second.
Sure.
All in favor? Carried.
Carly, did we ever pay that Smith bill at the fire hall?
We haven't done it yet.
Put that water line in, we never got it finished, but was there ever a bill? It's supposed to be what, 27?
No, that's
I need to.
We need to adjourn.
No. Yeah, sure, so.
Well, we couldn't find it, nobody knows. Yeah, you know, you shouldn't have. Bid it, and you should have known, you didn't know where else left. Yeah, and nobody asked.
Something to be aware of, right?
Well, what's it say here?
So we didn't go for every meeting, I think we did.
Well, I'll get a bigger.
Go back and read it, and we'll give, I will give them a check.
I have this problem where if I don't find it for this goal here, but as soon as everything's done, it's there forever, in the file.
It'll go away with age. By pushing in the side, it's all the way
See, and I'll look at the ceiling.
No, that's 5,600 yards.
5,600, yeah, 125.
I need a tree, that's pretty hard.
Oh, that's per yard?
You see what he says?
Per yard? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, yeah.
Especially with nine material versus I can't get that.
How much,
Yeah.
so.
That's what they charge, I mean, he's gonna be charging us that too.
I just haven't figured
Or-
out how
Well,
to fix it,
that's
what I'm doing.
only once, right?
Yes, for sure.
So we don't know all that, that rail, but it was, I thought it was per yard, but that was just grabbing, but there was a bunch of motor on there, wasn't
I don't know.
Well, it's too late now.
It's too late now.
I really have to specify.
Okay, we do adjourn this regular meeting 3:59 PM to meet again for our regular meeting of August 11, 2023. Do I have a mover?
I'll move it. Earl.
Sorry, well, that was.
I know.
I went through the door. I would have normally left that all there because it was, but we need it, it's, Mike's got stuff there, and I mean, it's gonna get bad, we have,
Yeah.